Serena Vale never thought a bottle of wine could kill her. But tonight, under the flickering neon lights of Chicago, as she watched the poison dissolve in the expensive Bordeaux wine reserved for the city's most dangerous crime boss, everything changed. Warning him meant suicide. Silence meant she might survive the night. But as the bullet ripped through the underground Vespero restaurant, as the flames consumed everything behind it, and as Damian Moretti dragged her into the chaos, Serena realized survival was no longer an option. Follow this story to the end. Like and comment the name of the city you're watching to let me know how far this story has progressed. The rain came down in sheets that night, turning Michigan Avenue into a river of brake lights and cursing cab drivers. Serena Vale kept her head down, hood pulled tight, as she slipped through the back alley toward Vespero's service entrance. Her sneakers splashed through puddles filled with cigarette butts, and something she didn't want to identify. The smell hit her first, garbage mixed with expensive perfume from the front entrance where people who mattered stepped out of black cars with umbrellas held by men in suits. She wasn't one of them, never would be. Inside, the kitchen was a war zone. Chef Antoine screamed in French at a line cook who'd oversalted the bouillabaisse. Steam billowed from industrial pots. Plates crashed. Someone burned their hand and swore loud enough to make the dishwasher flinch. Serena tied on her apron, grabbed her notepad, and pushed through the swinging doors into the dining room before anyone could ask why she was 12 minutes late. Again, the contrast always gutted her. Out here, crystal chandeliers dripped light onto white tablecloths. Violins played something soft and forgettable. Men in tailored suits murmured into phones while women with diamonds at their throats picked at $70 appetizers. The air smelled like money and secrets. Serena refilled water glasses and smiled when required. Table 7 wanted more bread. Table 12 sent back the duck because it was too pink, then too well done. Then just right, but cold. She apologized each time, her face a mask of professional nothing. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She ignored it. Probably Lily's babysitter asking about bedtime again, or the electric company with another final notice. The stack of bills on her kitchen counter had stopped scaring her months ago. Now they just existed, like the rain, like the ache in her feet, like the knowledge that no matter how many doubles she pulled, it would never be enough. She was clearing table 4 when she saw him. Damian Moretti sat in the back corner booth, the one management kept reserved even when the restaurant was packed. He didn't look like the monster the newspapers described. No horns, no blood dripping from his teeth, just a man in a black suit, dark hair pushed back, jaw sharp enough to cut glass. His eyes tracked the room with the lazy confidence of someone who knew exactly how many people in this building would die for him. Or because of him. Serena's manager, Marcus, grabbed her elbow hard enough to bruise. Table 18, Moretti's table. Catherine called in sick. Marcus's voice dropped. Keep your mouth shut, pour the wine, get out. Don't stare, don't linger, don't breathe wrong. I know who he is. Then you know what happens to people who don't follow instructions. Marcus walked away before she could argue. Not that she would. Rent was due in 6 days. Lily needed new shoes. The pediatrician still hadn't been paid for last month's ear infection. Serena had learned a long time ago that pride was a luxury for people who could afford it. She approached the booth with a wine bottle on a silver tray. Chateau Margaux, 1995. The kind of bottle that cost more than her car. Damien didn't look up from his phone. The two men sitting across from him, brick walls and expensive suits, watched her like she might pull a gun from her apron. Your wine, sir. Her voice came out steady, professional, empty. Damien glanced up. His eyes were darker than she'd expected, almost black in the low light. For a second, something passed between them. Not recognition, not attraction, just the brief acknowledgement that they were both human beings pretending to be something else. Then his gaze dropped back to his phone. Dismissed. Serena set the bottle down, started to turn away, and that's when she saw it. The cork had been tampered with. Not obviously. You had to know what to look for. The faint residue around the rim, the way the wax seal had been carefully reheated and resealed. She'd grown up around wine. Her father had been obsessed with it, had taught her to spot a fake from across the room, had drilled into her head that the details always mattered. This bottle had been opened, recently. Her hand froze on the tray. Every instinct screamed at her to walk away. Whatever was in that bottle, poison, sedative, something worse, it wasn't her problem. She was a waitress, a single mother, someone who existed in the margins of other people's wars. But she thought about Lily. 6 years old, gap-toothed smile, obsessed with dinosaurs, and convinced that her mom could fix anything. What would Serena tell her daughter about tonight? That mommy saw a man about to die and did nothing because it was safer? What kind of person would that make her? Damien reached for the bottle. Don't. The word came out before she could stop it. The room didn't go quiet. That only happened in movies. But the two bodyguards tensed, hands moving toward their jackets. Damien's fingers stopped an inch from the glass. He looked at her again. Really looked this time. Excuse me? Serena's heart hammered against her ribs. Her mouth had gone dry. She could feel Marcus staring from across the room, probably already composing her termination paperwork in his head. The bottle. It's been compromised. One of the bodyguards stood, the other spoke into his sleeve. Damien leaned back in his seat, expression unreadable. Compromised how? The seal. Someone opened it and resealed it. I don't know what's inside, but it's not what you ordered. Damien studied her face like he was reading a language only he understood. Then he picked up the bottle, examined the cork with the casual expertise of someone who'd handled more wine than she'd ever see in her lifetime, and nodded once. Get Marcus. The next 10 minutes were a blur. Marcus arrived, pale and stammering. The bottle was taken away. Kitchen staff were questioned. Security footage was pulled. Serena stood against the wall, arms crossed, waiting for the inevitable firing, or worse. Instead, Damien walked over to her. Up close, he was taller than she'd expected. Broader. He smelled like expensive cologne and something darker underneath. Smoke, maybe. Old leather. What's your name? Serena Vale. You know wine, Serena Vale? My father taught me. Smart man. Damien's eyes flicked to her worn shoes, the stain on her apron, the way her hands shook just slightly. You just saved my life. That makes you either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. The corner of his mouth twitched, not quite a smile. Anyone ask you to watch that bottle? Anyone offer you money to make sure I drank it? No? You're lying. I'm not. Serena met his gaze, surprised by her own steadiness. I just noticed, that's all. For a long moment, Damien said nothing. Then he reached into his jacket, the bodyguards tensed again, and pulled out a business card. Plain white, embossed black text. Just a phone number. You see anything else unusual, you call that number, directly. I don't care what you want. His voice was soft, but it carried the weight of someone used to being obeyed. You're in this now, whether you like it or not. He walked back to his table. The bodyguards followed. Marcus appeared at Serena's shoulder, sweating through his shirt. Go home. I'll call you about your schedule. She didn't argue, just grabbed her coat, pushed through the kitchen, and stepped out into the rain. The alley was darker than before, the streetlight at the corner flickering like it couldn't decide whether to stay alive. Her phone buzzed again. This time she checked it. 3 missed calls from Lily's babysitter. 1 text, call me now. Serena's stomach dropped. She dialed, fingers numb. Mrs. Vale? The babysitter's voice was high, panicked. There's a man outside the apartment. He's been standing there for 20 minutes. He keeps looking up at your window. Did you call the police? They said they'd send someone when they could. But I'm scared. Lily's asking questions. Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone. I'm coming. Serena started running. The rain soaked through her jacket, her jeans, her skin. Her lungs burned. Her legs screamed. She'd parked 6 blocks away to avoid the parking garage fee, and now every second felt like drowning. She was 3 blocks from her building when the headlights found her. A black SUV pulled up alongside, matching her pace. The window rolled down. She didn't recognize the face inside, but she recognized the look. Cold, professional, paid to do unpleasant things. Serena Vale? She kept running. We just want to talk. Not interested. The SUV accelerated, cut her off at the intersection. 2 men got out, both dressed like they'd stepped out of a funeral, both blocking her path. Our employer wants a word. Tell your employer to make an appointment. The taller one smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. This isn't a request. Serena's hand found the pepper spray in her pocket. Dollar store garbage that probably didn't work, but it was all she had. She was calculating her chances of getting past them when the second SUV arrived. This one was bigger, blacker. The kind of vehicle that didn't just suggest money, it screamed it. The door opened and Damian Moretti stepped out into the rain like he didn't even feel it. The two men froze. Problem here? Damian's voice was conversational, almost friendly. The taller one's smile evaporated. Mr. Moretti, we didn't know that she was under my protection, Damian finished. Now you do. Leave. They left, fast. Serena stood there, soaked and shaking, watching Damian approach. His suit was getting ruined. He didn't seem to care. Someone's watching your apartment, he said. Not a question. How did you... I have people tracking the people who tried to kill me tonight. They're tracking you too now. He gestured to the SUV. Get in. I'll take you home. I don't need... Yes, you do. His tone shifted, losing the softness. Whoever poisoned that bottle knows you stopped me from drinking it, which means you're a witness, which means you're a problem they need to solve. The rain hammered down harder. Serena thought about Lily, about the man watching her window, about how fast her life had just collapsed into something she didn't recognize. Just a ride home. That's it. Damian nodded once. That's it. She got in the SUV. The interior smelled like new leather and gun oil. One of Damian's men sat in the driver's seat, silent and stone-faced. Damian slid in beside her, leaving a careful distance between them. They drove in silence for 2 blocks before he spoke. Tell me about your father. Why? Because you knew what to look for with that bottle. That's not common knowledge. Serena stared out at the rain-streaked window. He was a sommelier, worked private events for people with too much money, died 3 years ago. How? Car accident. Off Lakeshore Drive. They said he was drunk, but my father never drank on the job. Never. Damian absorbed this. What was his name? Thomas Vale. Why does it matter? Instead of answering, Damian pulled out his phone, typed something, waited. His expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. Recognition. Or maybe calculation. Your father worked for the Cortel Syndicate. The words hit her like cold water. That's not true. He handled their wine acquisitions, authenticated their collections, probably saw a lot of things he shouldn't have. Damian pocketed his phone, the kind of things that get people killed and called accidents. Serena's hands clenched in her lap. You're wrong. I'm rarely wrong about this. They pulled up outside her building, a rundown walk-up in a neighborhood where gunshots were background noise. The man watching her window was gone, but his absence felt worse somehow, like he'd already gotten what he needed. Damian's driver stayed in the SUV. Damian himself walked her to the door. Pack a bag, he said. You and your daughter. Enough for a few days. What? No, I'm not. They know where you live. They know where you work. They know about Lily. His voice was flat, factual. You stopped me from dying tonight, Serena. That makes you valuable to me and dangerous to them. The only question is whether you're smart enough to understand what that means. Serena looked up at her apartment. The light was on. She could see shadows moving behind the curtain. Lily probably jumping on the couch. The babysitter probably losing her mind trying to settle her down for bed. I can't just leave my life. You don't have one anymore. Damian's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, jaw tightening. The bottle was laced with ricin. Slow-acting, untraceable once metabolized. Whoever wanted me dead was patient, professional. He looked at her. And now they're cleaning up loose ends. I'm not a loose end. You're the only person who noticed. That makes you the biggest loose end there is. The rain had slowed to a drizzle. Somewhere down the street, a car alarm wailed. Serena's mind raced through options, all of them terrible. How long? Until we figure out who's trying to kill me and why. Could be days, could be weeks. And if I say no? Damian stepped back, buttoning his jacket. Then I leave. And tomorrow morning, someone finds you and Lily in your apartment. Quick if you're lucky, slow if you're not. He paused. I'm offering you protection, Serena, not asking permission. She wanted to scream at him, to tell him to go to hell, that she'd survived worse than this, that she didn't need some crime lord playing savior. But she thought about Lily's gap-toothed smile, about bedtime stories and dinosaur pajamas, and the way her daughter still believed the world was mostly good. One bag, Serena said, and I want your word. My daughter doesn't get hurt. You have it. I mean it. Whatever happens, she stays safe. That's non-negotiable. Damien's expression softened almost imperceptibly. I understand. Serena climbed the stairs to her apartment, each step feeling like walking toward a cliff. The babysitter answered on the first knock, relief flooding her face when she saw Serena was alive. Is everything okay? Change of plans. I need you to go home. I'll Venmo you for tonight. The girl left quickly, probably sensing the tension. Lily sat on the couch in her dinosaur pajamas, watching cartoons with the volume too loud.
Mommy! She jumped up, ran over. Did you bring me anything? Serena knelt down, pulled her daughter close, breathed in the smell of strawberry shampoo and childhood. Baby, we're going on a little trip. Where? Somewhere safe, with nice people who are going to help us for a little while. Lily's face scrunched up. Is it because of the man outside? Serena's blood went cold. You saw him?
He waved at me. I didn't wave back because you said never talk to strangers. Lily said it so proudly, like she'd won a prize. That's right, baby. You did perfect. Serena kept her voice light, steady, even as terror clawed at her throat. Now go pack your favorite stuffed animals, okay? And your blue backpack. While Lily rummaged through her room, Serena threw clothes into a duffel bag. Toothbrushes, phone chargers, Lily's medication for her allergies. She grabbed the photo of her father from the nightstand, the only good picture she had, him smiling at some wine event, looking proud and alive and nothing like a man who'd worked for criminals. Damien had to be wrong about that. He had to be. They left through this back entrance. Damien's SUV waited in the alley, engine running. Lily's eyes went wide when she saw the big vehicle. Mommy, that's a really fancy car. It belongs to a friend. You have friends with fancy cars? Just get in, baby. Damien sat in the back, scrolling through his phone. When Lily climbed in beside him, he glanced up, and for a second Serena saw something almost human cross his face. Surprise, maybe. Or discomfort. This is Lily, Serena said. Lily, this is Mr. Moretti. He's going to help keep us safe for a little while. Lily studied him with the brutal honesty of 6-year-olds. Are you a bad guy? Damien's mouth twitched. Sometimes. Mommy says bad guys always lie. Your mommy is very smart. She is, Lily nodded seriously. She knows everything about dinosaurs. I know very little about dinosaurs. That's sad. Lily pulled out her stuffed triceratops. This is Rexy. He's my favorite. What's your favorite dinosaur? Damien looked genuinely stumped. Serena almost laughed despite everything. I don't have one. Everyone has a favorite dinosaur. That's a rule. Lily, Serena warned softly. But Damien shook his head. It's fine. He considered seriously, like this was a business negotiation. Velociraptor. Good choice. They're very smart. Pack hunters. Lily settled back in her seat, apparently satisfied. Where are we going? Somewhere with mountains, Damien said, and snow. I've never seen snow. Then you're in for a treat. They drove north out of the city. Serena watched Chicago disappear in the side mirror, the skyline blurring into rain and distance, the life she'd built dissolving like it had never existed at all. Beside her, Lily fell asleep against the window, Rexy clutched tight in her arms. Damien made 3 phone calls, all of them terse and coded. When he finished, he looked at Serena. There's a safe house 2 hours north, mountain property, off the grid. We'll stay there until my people track down who ordered the hit. Then what? Then we end them. Serena's hands twisted in her lap. I didn't ask for this. No one ever does. Damien's voice was quieter now, almost gentle. But you made a choice tonight. You could have walked away. You didn't. I couldn't just let you die. Why not? You don't know me. For all you knew, I deserved it. The question hung between them. Serena didn't have a good answer. Maybe there wasn't one. I just couldn't, she said finally. Damien watched her for a long moment. Then he leaned forward and told his driver to take the next exit. They stopped at a gas station outside the city limits. Damien went inside, came back with bottles of water and granola bars. He handed one to Serena without comment. Thank you, she said. Don't thank me yet. They drove on into the night. The rain finally stopped. Stars appeared overhead, scattered and cold. Lily woke up once, asked if they were there yet, then fell back asleep when Serena said soon. It was past midnight when they arrived. The safe house turned out to be a sprawling compound tucked into the mountains, surrounded by pine trees and darkness. Floodlights illuminated a massive stone and timber structure that looked more like a fortress than a home. Armed guards in tactical gear patrolled the perimeter. Lily woke up as they pulled through the gate. "Mommy, this looks like a castle." "Kind of, baby." "Do you live here?" Lily asked Damien. "Sometimes." "Can I see your room?" Damien actually smiled. Small, but real. "Maybe tomorrow." Inside the compound was all hardwood floors and high ceilings. A fire burned in a stone fireplace big enough to stand in. Leather furniture, expensive rugs, floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over dark mountains and darker sky. A woman in her 50s appeared, gray hair pulled back, efficient movements. "Mr. Moretti, your rooms are ready." "Thank you, Grace." Damien gestured to Serena and Lily. "This is Serena Vale and her daughter. They're guests. Make sure they have everything they need." Grace's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Curiosity, maybe, or pity. "Of course. Follow me, please." She led them upstairs to a suite of rooms that were bigger than Serena's entire apartment. King bed, private bathroom with a tub big enough to swim in, a separate room for Lily with twin beds and stuffed animals already arranged on the pillows. "Someone will bring up dinner shortly," Grace said. "If you need anything, there's a phone by the bed. Dial 0. When she left, Serena sat on the edge of the bed and put her head in her hands. Lily climbed up beside her. "Mommy, are you crying?" "No, baby, just tired. This place is really nice." "It is." "Are we safe here?" Serena pulled Lily close. "Yeah, we're safe." It was the first lie she'd told her daughter in a long time. Dinner arrived on a rolling cart. Chicken, vegetables, fresh bread that was still warm. Lily ate like she hadn't seen food in days. Serena picked at her plate, her appetite gone. After Lily was asleep, Serena stood by the window looking out at the dark forest. She could see guards moving between the trees, their flashlights cutting through the shadows. This was her life now. Armed men, mountain fortresses, a crime lord who'd decided she and her daughter were worth protecting. A knock at the door made her jump. Damien stood in the hallway, still in his suit despite the late hour. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Not really." "Walk with me." It wasn't a request. Serena glanced back at Lily's room, the door open, her daughter's soft breathing audible, then followed Damien downstairs. He led her through the compound to a study lined with books. A laptop sat open on the desk, displaying surveillance footage from multiple angles. Serena recognized her apartment building, her workplace, the street where she'd been cornered. "My people identified 2 of the men who came after you tonight," Damien said, pulling up photos on the screen. "Both work for Victor Rains." The name hit Serena like a punch to the chest. "That's not possible." "You know him." It wasn't a question. Serena sank into one of the leather chairs, her legs suddenly weak. "He's Lily's father." Damien went very still. "He abandoned you?" 5 years ago, when I told him I was pregnant. Haven't heard from him since." Serena's voice sounded far away, even to herself. "Last I knew, he was working construction in Detroit." "He's not in Detroit anymore." Damien brought up another photo. Victor in an expensive suit, shaking hands with men Serena didn't recognize. "He's been running enforcement for the Cortel Syndicate for the past 2 years, which means he knows," Serena finished. Her hands had started shaking. "About tonight, about the bottle, about me being here." "Yes." "Why would he come after me now, after all this time?" Damien closed the laptop. "Because someone told him to. The question is why they want you badly enough to risk exposing their asset." Serena thought about her father, about wine bottles and secrets, about the way he'd looked at her that last Christmas, sad and scared and like he wanted to say something but couldn't. "My father knew something," she said quietly. "Didn't he? That's why they killed him." "I think so. And they think I know it too." Damien nodded. "Whatever your father was hiding, it's important enough to kill for. Important enough to risk a war over." He paused. "Do you know what it is?" "No." He never talked about work, never brought it home. "Think harder." Serena closed her eyes, searching through memories. Her father's small apartment, his wine collection taking up half the living room, the way he'd catalog each bottle, recording details in a leather journal he never let her touch. The journal. Her eyes snapped open. There was a notebook. He wrote down everything about his wines, vintage, purchase date, tasting notes. After he died, I couldn't find it. I thought maybe it got lost in the accident. Or someone took it. What would be in a wine journal that's worth killing over? Depends what else he was recording. Damien pulled out his phone, typed something. The Cortel Syndicate specializes in money laundering through high-value collectibles, art, jewelry, rare wines. If your father was authenticating their purchases, he'd have documentation of every transaction, Serena finished. Dates, amounts, buyers. Enough to bring down their entire operation. The weight of it settled over her. Her father hadn't just been a sommelier. He'd been a record keeper, a liability. And when he'd realized what he was part of, when he'd tried to get out, they'd killed him and made it look like an accident. I can't prove any of this, Serena said. I don't have the journal. I don't know where it is. I don't even know if it still exists. Victor thinks you do. That's all that matters. A sound from upstairs, Lily crying out in her sleep. Serena was on her feet instantly, running up the stairs. She found her daughter thrashing in the blankets, caught in a nightmare. Baby, wake up. You're okay. Lily's eyes opened, wild and scared. The man was waving again. He was smiling. It was just a dream. Serena held her close, rocking back and forth. We're safe here, I promise. But even as she said it, she knew promises didn't mean anything anymore. Not in this world. Not with Victor Rains hunting them through the dark. Damien appeared in the doorway, silent as a ghost. He watched them for a moment, then disappeared again. Serena stayed with Lily until she fell back asleep. Then she went to her own room, locked the door, and finally let herself break down. Silent sobs that shook her whole body, terror and rage and grief all mixed together until she couldn't tell them apart. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then she thought about Victor, about how he'd always been too clever for his own good. Hello? Serena. His voice. After 5 years of silence, it still sounded the same, smooth, confident, toxic. We need to talk. We have nothing to talk about. I think we do. Especially now that you're playing house with Damien Moretti. A pause. How's our daughter? Serena's grip on the phone tightened until her knuckles went white. You don't get to call her that. You gave up that right when you walked away. I made mistakes. I know that. But I'm trying to fix them now. By sending men to kidnap me? Those weren't my men. I'm trying to keep you safe. Bullshit. Your father had something that belongs to my employers. They think you have it now. If you give it to them, this all ends. You go back to your life. Lily goes back to her life. Everyone walks away. I don't have anything. Then you need to find it, because my employers aren't patient people, Serena, and Moretti's protection won't last forever. His voice dropped. I still care about you, both of you. Let me help before this gets worse. Go to hell, Victor. She hung up, threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall and shattered. A knock at the door. Damien's voice. You okay? She wasn't, but she opened the door anyway. Victor called. He wants me to find whatever my father was hiding. Says if I give it to the Cortel Syndicate, they'll leave us alone. He's lying. I know. Serena laughed bitterly. But what if he's not? What if there's a way out of this that doesn't end with people dying? Damien stepped into the room, closed the door behind him. In the low light, his face was all sharp angles and shadows. There's no clean way out. Not anymore. They tried to kill me. They threatened you. They're using your daughter as leverage. His voice was cold, final. This ends one way, with them dead or us dead. I can't. Serena's voice broke. I can't watch Lily grow up in this world, surrounded by violence and guards, and then we end it fast. He said it so simply, like murder was just another item on a to-do list. You're talking about starting a war. The war already started, tonight, when they poisoned that bottle. Damien moved closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne again, see the faint scar above his left eyebrow. I'm just planning to win it. Serena looked up at him. This man who'd pulled her into hell. This man who was maybe the only thing standing between her daughter and death.
What do you need from me? She asked.
Information. Everything you remember about your father's collection, where he kept it, who had access, anything unusual in the months before he died.
That was 3 years ago.
Then dig deep.
She closed her eyes, thinking back. The apartment, the bottles lining the walls, the way her father would sit up late cataloging them, muttering to himself about vintages and provenance.
There had been one bottle he'd obsessed over. A Chateau d'Yquem from 1921. He'd bought it at an estate sale for almost nothing, claimed it was the find of his life, kept it separate from the others in a temperature-controlled case he'd bought specifically for it. There was a bottle, she said slowly. Sauterne, really old. He said it was special, worth more than everything else combined.
Where is it now? I don't know. After he died, I sold most of his collection to pay for the funeral, but I never found that bottle. I assumed he'd already sold it.
Damien pulled out his phone again, started typing. What was the vintage?
1921.
His fingers stopped moving. He looked at her with an expression she couldn't read. That's not a wine bottle, Serena. That's a legend. There were only 200 produced. Most were destroyed during World War II. The few that survived are worth 6 figures each, he paused. And they're the perfect place to hide something small and valuable. Understanding hit her like ice water. The journal. He hid it in the bottle. Or something else. Documents. Evidence. A microfilm of the records. Damien's mind was already moving ahead, calculating. If we find it before the Cortel Syndicate does, we have leverage. We have a weapon. Serena's phone, the shattered one on the floor, started buzzing. Impossible, but it was happening. The screen was cracked, but somehow still working, unknown caller flashing across it. She picked it up. Hello? Victor's voice again. But different now. Panicked. Serena, listen to me. They know Moretti took you. They're coming. Tonight. You need to get out of there right now. This is a trick. It's not. I swear on Lily's life, it's not. Leon Viscari sent a full tactical team. They're hitting the compound in less than an hour. Moretti can't stop them. He doesn't have enough men. Serena looked at Damien. His expression had gone completely flat.
He's listening, isn't he? Victor continued. Tell him it's a trap. Tell him Viscari wants him dead more than he wants the journal. Tell him... The line went dead. Damien was already moving, grabbing his phone, barking orders. Lock down the perimeter. Full alert. I want everyone armed and ready in 5 minutes. Is he right? Serena asked. Are they coming? He's right. Damien's voice was ice. Get Lily. Meet me downstairs. We're leaving. I thought this place was safe. Nowhere safe. He stopped at the door, looked back at her. But I meant what I said. No one hurts your daughter. Whatever happens tonight, I'll make sure she gets out. Then he was gone, leaving Serena alone with the sound of alarms starting to blare and boots pounding through hallways and the terrible certainty that the worst was still coming. She ran to Lily's room, scooped her sleeping daughter into her arms. Lily stirred but didn't wake. Serena grabbed Rexy, the backpack, and ran for the stairs. Outside, through the windows, she could see headlights in the distance. Multiple vehicles approaching fast through the trees. The war had found them, and there was nowhere left to run. The first explosion took out the western guard tower. The sound ripped through the night like the world splitting open, followed by a fireball that turned the darkness into daylight for 3 seconds before collapsing back into smoke and screams. Serena felt the shockwave through the floor beneath her feet as she ran down the main staircase with Lily clutched against her chest. Mommy, what's happening? Lily's voice was small, muffled against Serena's shoulder. Just hold on to me, baby. Don't look. But Serena was looking. Through the massive windows lining the foyer, she could see muzzle flashes in the trees. Headlights converging on the compound from 3 directions. The guards Damien had posted were returning fire, but there were too many incoming vehicles. Too many weapons. The math was simple and brutal. They were going to lose. Damien appeared at the bottom of the stairs, body armor strapped over his dress shirt, a rifle in his hands that looked military-grade and very illegal. His face was stone. Basement. Now. What about you? I'm buying time. Grace will get you to the escape tunnel. He turned to one of his men, a broad-shouldered guy with a scar bisecting his eyebrow. Marcus, you're with them. Anyone gets through that door, you put them down. Marcus nodded once, checked his sidearm. No hesitation, just professional acceptance of violence. Another explosion, closer this time.
The chandelier overhead swayed, crystal pennants chiming like funeral bells. Somewhere in the compound, glass shattered. "Move!" Damien ordered. Grace materialized from a side hallway, moving with the calm efficiency of someone who'd done this before. She led them through the kitchen, gleaming appliances and marble countertops that belonged in a magazine spread, not a fortress under siege. A hidden panel in the pantry slid open when she pressed her palm to it, revealing concrete stairs descending into darkness. "Down, quickly." Serena descended first, Lily's weight solid and real against her. The stairs were steep, the air getting colder with each step. Behind them, Marcus followed, his weapon drawn, eyes scanning the shadows. The basement was massive, concrete walls lined with shelves holding enough food and water to survive a nuclear winter. Generator equipment humming in the corner, and at the far end a steel door with a biometric lock. Grace pressed her thumb to the scanner. The lock disengaged with a heavy clunk. Tunnel goes half a mile north, opens in the forest near the access road. There's a vehicle waiting with full tank, supplies, cash. She pulled a key fob from her pocket, pressed it into Serena's hand. "Don't stop driving until you hit Canada." "What about Damien?" "Mr. Moretti can take care of himself. Your job is to protect that child." Gunfire erupted overhead, not distant anymore. Inside the house, Serena could hear men shouting, boots pounding across hardwood floors. "They're in," Marcus said flatly. Grace's expression didn't change. "Then you'd better hurry." She turned back toward the stairs. Serena grabbed her arm. "You're not coming?" "Someone needs to slow them down." Grace's smile was thin, tired. "I've worked for the Moretti family for 32 years. This is as good a place as any to finish." She was climbing the stairs before Serena could respond. The pantry door slid shut behind her, cutting off the sounds of battle. Marcus gestured to the tunnel entrance. "Let's go." The tunnel was narrow, carved through raw rock, lit by battery-powered LED strips every 10 feet. The air smelled like earth and dampness. Lily had gone completely silent, her face buried against Serena's neck. Serena could feel her daughter's rapid heartbeat through her thin pajamas. They'd made it maybe 200 yards when Marcus's radio crackled to life. "Breach the basement. Multiple hostiles. Grace is down." The transmission cut off in a burst of static and gunfire. Marcus didn't react, just kept moving forward, weapon raised, eyes on the darkness ahead. "How many are coming?" Serena asked. "Enough." That's not an answer. It's the only one that matters. They reached a fork in the tunnel. Marcus paused, studying both passages with a tactical calculation that made Serena's stomach clench. He chose left, started moving again. "That's not the way to the exit," Serena said. Marcus stopped, turned. His face was apologetic in the LED glow. "No, it's not." Understanding came slow, then all at once. The way he'd positioned himself behind them. The fact that Grace had sent them down here alone. The too convenient escape route. "You're not taking us to safety." "I'm taking you where Mr. Vescari wants you." Serena stepped back, still holding Lily. "Damien trusted you." "Damien pays well. Vescari pays better." Marcus raised his weapon, not quite pointing it at her, but the threat was clear. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be. The girl won't be hurt. You have my word." "Your word doesn't mean shit." "Fair enough." He gestured down the left passage. "Walk." Serena's mind raced. She was holding a 6-year-old. Marcus was armed, trained, probably had 20 pounds of muscle on her. The tunnel behind them was crawling with Vescari's men. The tunnel ahead led to whatever trap Marcus was walking them into. No good options, just degrees of terrible. "Lily," she whispered, "when I say run, you run as fast as you can back the way we came. Don't stop. Don't look back." "Mommy, do you understand?" Lily nodded against her shoulder. Marcus was saying something about cooperation, about how this could be easy, about how Vescari just wanted to talk. Serena wasn't listening. She was calculating distance, angle, the split second she'd have before Marcus pulled the trigger. She set Lily down gently, took one step toward Marcus, hands raised in surrender. Then she grabbed the LED strip from the wall and swung it like a club. The impact caught Marcus across the face, not hard enough to knock him out, but enough to make him stagger. His weapon discharged, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. The bullet sparked off rock 6 inches from Serena's head. Run! Lily ran. Serena threw herself at Marcus, going for his eyes, his throat, anything soft. He was stronger, but she was desperate, and desperation made her vicious. Her elbow connected with his nose. Blood sprayed. He swore and backhanded her hard enough to send her sprawling. She hit the ground, vision sparking, tasted copper. Marcus was standing over her, weapon aimed at her head now, finger on the trigger. Stupid, he said. Blood dripped from his ruined nose. So fucking stupid. Then the back of his head exploded. He dropped like a puppet with cut strings. Behind him, Damien stood in the tunnel entrance, rifle still smoking. You okay? Serena spat blood. I'm alive. Where's Lily? Ran. Back toward the basement. Damien was moving before she finished the sentence. Serena scrambled to her feet, followed him. Her head was ringing. Her jaw felt like it might be fractured. None of it mattered. They found Lily 30 yards back, pressed against the tunnel wall, shaking. When she saw Serena, she launched herself forward. Mommy! Serena caught her, held her tight. Over Lily's head, she looked at Damien. Grace? Dead. Most of my men are dead. His voice was flat, empty. Viscari sent 40 operators. This wasn't a raid, it was an execution. But you got out. I know these tunnels better than they do. He checked his rifle, ejected the magazine, slammed in a fresh one. But they'll figure it out soon. We need to move. Where? Anywhere that's not here. They ran. Damien led them through a maze of passages that branched and twisted through the mountain. Some were finished with concrete. Others were raw rock barely wide enough to squeeze through. Serena lost track of direction, of time, just followed the man with the gun through the darkness. They emerged from a service hatch hidden in a dried creek bed half a mile from the compound. The night air hit Serena's lungs like ice. Through the trees she could see the estate burning. Flames climbed into the black sky. More gunfire echoed across the distance. A black SUV sat idling 20 feet away. Same model as the one that had picked her up outside Vespero a lifetime ago. The driver was slumped over the wheel, a bullet hole in his temple. Damien checked the vehicle, found the keys still in the ignition. Get in. Serena strapped Lily into the back seat. The girl had stopped crying, just stared out the window with the blank expression of someone in shock. Serena knew that look. Recognized it from the mirror after her father died. Damien drove. No lights. Navigating by memory down a fire road that was barely more than tire ruts through underbrush. Branches scraped the sides of the SUV. Once, he had to stop and move a fallen tree, muscles straining as he hauled it aside. They reached paved road 15 minutes later. Damien turned south, away from Chicago, pushing the vehicle to 80 on the empty highway. Where are we going? Serena asked. I have a place. Milwaukee. Factory district. No one knows about it. Victor knew about the compound. Victor didn't know. Viscari did. Which means someone in my organization has been feeding him information for months. Damien's hands were white-knuckled on the wheel. Everyone I trusted is dead or a traitor. Except me. He glanced at her. Something moved behind his eyes. Except you. They drove in silence for an hour. Lily fell asleep despite everything, her head against Rexy. Serena watched the dark landscape blur past, trying not to think about Grace dying on those stairs. About the men who'd burned to death in the compound. About how much blood was on her hands now, even though she'd never pulled a trigger. Your father's bottle, Damien said suddenly. The 1921 Sauterne. Any idea where he would have hidden it? I told you, I don't know. Think harder. Serena closed her eyes. Her father's apartment. Small, cluttered, smelling like old books and wine. The collection taking up the entire living room. But that special bottle, the one he'd obsessed over, had been kept separate. He had a storage unit, she said slowly, across town from his place. Climate controlled. I went through it after the funeral, but everything was just wine stuff. Corkscrews, decanters, empty bottles. You remember the address? South Side, near the old stockyards. I can find it. Good. Damien took an exit, headed east. Because that's where we're going. That's insane. Chicago is crawling with Viscari's people. Victor knows I'm alive. They'll be watching my father's properties. Exactly. Which means they're not watching Milwaukee. He glanced at the rearview mirror. We go to Chicago, grab the bottle, and disappear before anyone realizes we were there. And if the bottle isn't there?
Then we're dead anyway. Might as well find out for sure. The logic was airtight and completely terrifying. Serena wanted to argue, wanted to demand they run, get as far from this nightmare as possible, but she looked at Lily sleeping in the back seat and knew running wouldn't save them. Victor had found them once. Biscari would find them again. The only way out was through. Okay, she said. Chicago.
They reached the safe house in Milwaukee just before dawn. It was exactly what Damien had described, a gutted factory in a neighborhood where asking questions was bad for your health. Broken windows, graffiti-covered walls. But inside, past the industrial wreckage, was a hidden apartment. Generator power, running water, weapons, and cash hidden in a floor safe. Damien carried Lily upstairs, laid her on the single bed without waking her. Serena collapsed on the couch, every muscle in her body screaming. Her jaw had swollen to twice its normal size. Purple bruises were blooming across her cheekbone. Damien returned with a first aid kit, knelt beside her. Gentle fingers prodded her jaw. Not broken. But you're going to hurt for a while. I've hurt before. He opened an ice pack, pressed it to her face. The cold was shocking, almost painful. She hissed through her teeth. Sorry, he said. Don't be. I'm alive. Because you fought back. Marcus was twice your size and you went for him anyway. Something that might have been respect crossed his face. That was either brave or suicidal. I had Lily to protect. Most mothers would have begged, tried to negotiate. I'm not most mothers. Damien's mouth quirked. Not quite a smile, but close. He cleaned the cut on her lip, applied antibiotic ointment with a precision that suggested medical training. His hands were steady. No tremor despite the fact that he'd lost everything tonight. How are you so calm? Serena asked. I'm not. You look calm. I've had practice hiding it. He finished with her face, started checking her hands for injuries. My father used to say emotion is the enemy of survival. Feel everything after the fight. During the fight, you're a machine. Your father sounds like a piece of work. He was. Past tense. Damien didn't elaborate. Serena watched him work, studying the sharp angles of his face in the dim light. There was a coldness to him, a distance that probably helped him do terrible things without flinching. But underneath, buried deep, she thought she saw something else. Exhaustion, loneliness. The weight of being the scariest thing in the room and knowing that meant no one would ever really see you. Grace, she said quietly. Did you love her? Damien's hand stopped moving. She raised me after my mother died. Taught me to tie my shoes, read bedtime stories, stayed up when I had nightmares. His voice was soft, careful. She was the only person in my life who wasn't afraid of me. I'm sorry. Don't be. She died doing her job. She wouldn't want pity. I'm not pitying her, I'm pitying you. Damien looked up at her. For a long moment, they just stared at each other. The distance between them felt enormous and paper-thin at the same time. You should sleep, he said finally. We leave for Chicago at dusk. What about you? Someone needs to keep watch. He stood, moved to the window. Serena watched him for a while, then exhaustion dragged her under. She dreamed of fire and blood and Grace's thin smile before the pantry door closed. She woke to the smell of coffee. Afternoon light slanted through the broken windows. Lily was sitting at a makeshift table, coloring in a book that hadn't been there before. Damien stood at the stove, scrambling eggs in a pan. You cook? Serena's voice was rough. I survived. There's a difference. He plated the eggs, set them in front of Lily. Eat. We're moving in an hour. Lily picked at her food. She hadn't spoken since the tunnel, just stared at things with that terrible blank expression. Serena sat beside her. Baby, talk to me. Is the bad man dead? It took Serena a second to realize she meant Marcus. Yes. Good. Lily's voice was small but certain. He was going to hurt you. He was, but Mr. Moretti stopped him. Lily looked at Damien, who was cleaning the pan with the same mechanical efficiency he did everything. Are you going to keep stopping people who want to hurt Mommy? Damien turned, met Lily's gaze without flinching. Yes? Even if lots of people try. Even then. Lily considered this, then nodded and went back to her eggs. Like that settled it. Like a promise from a monster was worth more than all the safety Serena had tried to build. Maybe it was. They left at dusk. Damien had changed into different clothes, jeans, black jacket, nothing that screamed wealth or danger. He'd found clothes for Serena, too. They fit reasonably well. She tried not to think about where they'd come from, whose body they'd been pulled off. The drive to Chicago took 3 hours. Damien stayed off highways, used back roads where speed cameras didn't exist. He drove with one hand, the other resting on a pistol in his lap. "Tell me about Victor," he said. Serena stiffened. "Why?" "Because he's hunting you. I need to know how he thinks." "I don't know how he thinks anymore. The Victor I knew was charming, ambitious, always looking for the next big score, but he wasn't violent, wasn't criminal. People change. Not that much. You'd be surprised what people become when they're desperate." Damien glanced at her. "How long were you together?" 2 years. Met him at a bar, fell hard and fast. He had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. Serena laughed bitterly. "Classic con man shit. I just didn't know it yet." "When did you find out you were pregnant?" 6 months in. I thought he'd be happy. We talked about the future, about building something real." She stared out the window at the passing darkness. "I told him over dinner. He went pale, said he needed to think. Next morning he was gone. Cleaned out his apartment, changed his number, like I never existed. He abandoned his child. He abandoned us both." Damien was quiet for a long moment. "And now he's back, claiming he wants to help. He wants something. That's different." "What does he want?" Serena thought about the phone call. Victor's voice, panicked and desperate. The warning about Viscari's attack. It had been real. The assault had happened exactly when he'd said. But that didn't mean he was on their side. "He wants the journal," she said, "or whatever's in my father's bottle. He thinks it'll buy his way out of whatever hole he's dug himself into." "Will it?" "I don't know. Maybe. If it's really got evidence against the Cortel syndicate, that's leverage, the kind people kill for." "The kind people die for," Damien corrected. They reached Chicago around 9. The city sprawled before them, lights and steel and the same streets Serena had walked her entire life. Now they felt alien, dangerous. Every shadow could be hiding Viscari's men. Every car could be tailing them. Damien navigated through the south side like he'd lived here. Probably had. Probably had safe houses scattered across the city, each one another place to hide or make a stand. The storage facility sat between a shuttered meatpacking plant and a vacant lot filled with stripped cars, chain-link fence, security cameras that may or may not have been functional, a board attendant in a booth watching something on his phone. "Unit number?" Damien asked. 217, second floor. "Stay in the car. Lock the doors. I'll check it out first." "No." Serena unbuckled her seatbelt. "This is my father's place. I know what to look for. It could be a trap." "Everything's a trap. Let's spring it." Damien studied her face, looking for fear, maybe, or common sense. He wouldn't find either. "Fine, but you do exactly what I say. No arguing." "Wasn't planning to." They left Lillian's back seat with the doors locked and the engine running. Damien gave her his phone. "Anyone comes near this car, you call the first number on the screen. Tell them where you are. They'll come get you." Lily nodded seriously. She looked small in the big vehicle, too small for this life. The storage facility smelled like mildew and old cardboard. Damien moved ahead, weapon drawn but concealed under his jacket. They took the stairs to the second floor. Flickering fluorescent lights. Numbered doors stretching down a long corridor. Unit 217 was at the far end. The lock was intact. No signs of forced entry. Damien checked it anyway, running his fingers along the seams, looking for tripwires or tamper marks. "Looks clean." Serena had the key. Her hand shook as she unlocked it. The door swung open on rusty hinges. Inside was exactly as she remembered. Boxes of her father's wine stuff. Cork extractors, vintage catalogs, stained aprons. Against the back wall, a commercial wine refrigerator, unplugged now, its glass door dark. Damien swept the space with his weapon. Empty. Just ghosts and dust. Serena approached the refrigerator. Her father had kept his best bottles here. She could still see him loading them in, handling each one like fragile art. talking about acid balance and tannins and other things she'd pretended to understand. The door stuck when she pulled it. Then it opened with a wheeze of stale air. Most of the racks were empty. The collection had been sold years ago, but on the top shelf, alone, sat a single bottle. Chateau d'Yquem, 1921. Serena reached for it with shaking hands. The glass was cool, dusty. The label was faded but intact. She could see where the wax seal had been carefully preserved. "Is that it?" Damien asked. "Yes." "Check it." Serena held the bottle up to the light. The wine inside was dark amber, thick, but there was something else. A shadow in the liquid, too regular to be sediment. "There's something inside." Damien pulled out a pocket knife, started carefully cutting away the wax seal. The cork beneath was old, brittle. He worked it free with the gentle precision of someone defusing a bomb. The cork came out with a soft pop. Damien tilted the bottle, poured carefully into his palm. Wine trickled out first, amber and fragrant even after a century. Then something solid, a cylinder wrapped in oilcloth. He unwrapped it. Inside was a film canister, the kind photographers used before digital. Damien held it up to the light. "Microfilm," he said. "Your father photographed the ledgers." "What's on them?" "Everything. Every transaction, every name, every dirty deal the Cortel Syndicate ever made." Damien's voice was tight, with something that might have been satisfaction. "This is a nuclear bomb. So we give it to the FBI. They arrest Vescari and everyone else. This ends." Damien laughed. It was a cold sound. "You think the FBI isn't compromised? Half the politicians in this city are on Vescari's payroll. We hand this over, it disappears, and we die in a tragic accident 3 days later. Then what do we do with it? We use it. Make Vescari understand that if anything happens to us, copies of this go to every news organization in the country. Mutually assured destruction." Serena wanted to believe that would work, that rational self-interest would keep them alive. But she'd seen too much already. Vescari didn't strike her as someone who negotiated. "He'll kill us anyway," she said quietly, "even with the leverage. He can't let this exist." "Probably." Damien pocketed the film canister. "But it buys us time, and time is all we need." "For what?" "To kill him first." The words hung in the air like smoke. Serena knew she should be horrified, should argue, find another way. But when she looked at Damien, at the cold calculation in his eyes, the absolute certainty, she realized she'd stopped being horrified somewhere between the compound burning and Marcus's body dropping in the tunnel. "How?" she asked. "I'm still working that out." Footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Heavy boots, multiple people, moving fast. Damien's weapon was up instantly. He killed the lights, pulled Serena behind a stack of boxes. "How many?" she whispered. 4, maybe 5. "Vescari's men?" "Who else?" The footsteps stopped outside their unit. Serena could see shadows under the door, hear low voices conferring, then one voice, louder than the others. Familiar. "Serena? I know you're in there. It's Victor. I'm alone. I just want to talk." Damien's hand tightened on his weapon. "It's a trap, maybe. Or maybe he really is alone." "You can't be serious." Serena looked at the door, at the shadows beneath it. Victor had warned them about the compound attack. Could have let them die, but didn't. That had to mean something. "He's Lily's father," she said. "He's the enemy." "He's both." She stood before Damien could stop her, walked to the door. Behind her, she heard Damien cursing under his breath. "You armed?" she called through the door. "Yes." "Drop the weapon, kick it away, then come in with your hands up." Silence. Then the metallic clatter of a gun hitting concrete. "It's done. I'm opening the door." The handle turned. Victor stepped inside, hands raised. He looked different than Serena remembered. Older, harder. The boyish charm had been filed away, leaving something sharp and desperate underneath. His eyes found hers in the darkness. "Serena, thank God." "Don't. I've been trying to find you since the compound. I heard about the attack. I thought—" His voice cracked. "I thought you were dead." "Would have made things easier for you. That's not fair." "Fair?" Serena laughed. It came out brittle. "You abandoned us. left us with nothing, and now you show up playing the concerned father?
I made mistakes. I know that. But I'm trying to make it right.
Damien stepped out of the shadows, weapon aimed at Victor's head. Start talking, and if I think you're lying, I pull the trigger. Victor's hands stayed up, but his eyes tracked to the gun without fear, like he'd been held at gunpoint before. Probably had. Vescari knows about the microfilm. He's got people watching every property connected to Thomas Vale. I've been running interference, buying you time to get here first. Why? Serena asked. What's in it for you? A way out. Vescari's operation is collapsing. The families are turning on each other. Everyone knows the feds are closing in. Victor's voice dropped. That microfilm is my ticket to witness protection. I testify. I walk. Maybe even get to be part of Lily's life again. Over my dead body. I'm not asking for custody. Just a chance. That's all. He looked at her with something that might have been genuine regret. I loved you once. Both of you. I was just too much of a coward to handle it. And now? Now I'm still a coward, but I'm a coward with information. He glanced at Damien. I know where Vescari is. Right now. Tonight. His security is light because he sent everyone to the compound. If you want him dead, you'll never get a better shot. Damien's expression didn't change. Why would you give me that? Because with Vescari gone, the Cortel syndicate fractures. No one left to hunt you. No one left to threaten Serena and Lily. Victor's smile was tired. I may be a bastard, but I'm not a monster. I want them safe. You could be lying. I could be, but I'm not. The two men stared at each other, predators measuring each other. Serena watched them both, her mind racing. Where is he? She asked Victor. The Cartier building, downtown, penthouse suite. He's got 6 guards, maybe 8. They're good, but they're not expecting an assault. How do you know this? Because I'm supposed to be there. Vescari called a meeting, all his lieutenants, wants to discuss the situation with Moretti. Victor's eyes flicked to Damien. He's planning to consolidate power, make an example of anyone who might challenge him. Including you? Especially me. He knows I tipped you off about the compound, knows I'm compromised. Victor lowered his hands slowly. I'm dead either way. At least this way. I choose how it happens. Damien holstered his weapon, not because he trusted Victor, because the math made sense. You help us get to Vescari, we give you a copy of the microfilm when it's done. You testify, you walk, but you never contact Serena or Lily again, ever. Deal. Break it, and I'll find you. Doesn't matter where you run. Witness protection won't save you. Understood. Serena wanted to argue, wanted to tell them both to go to hell, that she wasn't going to let them drag her into a murder plot. But she thought about Lily sleeping in the SUV downstairs, about the fact that as long as Vescari lived, they'd never be safe. Sometimes there was no good choice, just the least terrible one. When? She asked. Victor checked his watch. Meeting starts in 2 hours. We need to move now. They left the storage unit, Victor walking ahead with his hands visible. His weapon stayed on the ground where he'd dropped it. Trust was a luxury none of them could afford. The SUV was where they'd left it, Lily still curled in the back seat. When she saw Victor through the window, her eyes went wide. Mommy? Who's that? Serena's throat tightened. Someone who's going to help us, baby. He looks like me, because he did. Same dark eyes, same stubborn jawline. Genetics didn't care about abandonment. Victor stared at his daughter through the glass. His expression was complicated. Regret, longing, the weight of 5 lost years. She's beautiful, he said quietly. She is. And you don't get to know her. I know. They drove to the Cartier building in 2 vehicles. Victor, in his own car, leading. Damien and Serena following. The building was exactly what Serena expected, glass and steel towering over downtown, the kind of place where money went to hide from daylight. They parked in an underground garage 2 blocks away. Damien pulled weapons from a hidden compartment in the SUV. Handguns, spare magazines, something that looked disturbingly like a grenade. You know how to shoot? He asked Serena. No. Then stay behind me. Don't do anything stupid. Little late for that. Victor approached, jacket open to show he was unarmed. Service entrance is on the east side. I can get us past security, but once we're in the elevator, we're committed. What floor? 42, top floor. Viscari's got the entire level. 2 ways in, elevator and emergency stairs. Both are monitored. So we go loud. We go smart. Victor pulled out his phone, showed them security camera feeds. I've got access to their system. I can loop the footage for 3 minutes. After that, they'll know something's wrong. 3 minutes is enough. They left Lily in the SUV again, this time with Damien's phone and explicit instructions to drive away if anyone approached. Serena hated doing it, hated leaving her daughter alone in a dark garage while they walked toward violence. But there was no alternative. This ended tonight. One way or another, the service entrance was exactly where Victor said it would be. He swiped a keycard, smiled at the security guard like they were old friends. Working late, Mr. Raines. You know how it is. Boss calls, you come running. The guard waved them through, didn't even glance at Damien and Serena. Just another night in a building full of people doing things they shouldn't. The elevator ride to the 42nd floor was silent. Serena watched the numbers climb. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. Damien stood motionless, weapon hidden under his jacket. Victor kept checking his phone, watching the security feeds. 30 seconds until the loop ends, he said. The elevator dinged. Doors opened onto a marble foyer. 2 guards in suits stood flanking a set of double doors. They went for their weapons the second they saw Damien. Too slow. Damien put them both down before Serena could blink. 2 shots. Suppressed. Precise. The guards dropped without a sound. Jesus, Victor whispered. Damien was already moving, checked the bodies, took their key cards, their weapons. Professional, efficient, a machine built for killing. He swiped one of the cards. The double doors unlocked with a soft click. Beyond was a penthouse that belonged in a magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Modern furniture that probably cost more than Serena's car. And at the far end, around a conference table, 6 men in expensive suits. Leon Viscari sat at the head. Silver hair, dead eyes, the kind of face that had never smiled without calculating the angle. He looked up when they entered. Didn't seem surprised. Mr. Moretti, I was wondering when you'd arrive. Damien raised his weapon. Everyone on the floor, now! Nobody moved. The other men at the table were reaching for their own guns. This was about to turn into a bloodbath. Then Victor stepped forward, drew a weapon Serena hadn't seen him take, and aimed it directly at her head. Sorry, Serena, he said, but some lies are too profitable to tell the truth about. The world tilted. Serena couldn't breathe, couldn't think, just stared at the man she'd once loved holding a gun to her skull. Viscari smiled. It was a terrible expression. Thank you, Mr. Raines. Your payment will be transferred within the hour. Victor didn't look at her. Couldn't. The microfilm. Where is it? Damien's expression had gone completely empty. You played us. I played smart. Viscari pays better than witness protection. And my daughter, Victor's voice caught. My daughter gets to live. That was the deal. No deal, Viscari said flatly. The child is a loose end, like her mother. Victor's gun hand wavered. You said, I lied. Surely you understand the concept. For 1 second, everything hung in balance. Then Victor made his choice. He turned his gun on Viscari and pulled the trigger. The room exploded into chaos. Viscari's men returned fire. Victor went down, blood blooming across his chest. Damien was shooting, moving, bodies dropping. Serena hit the floor, crawled behind a sofa, glass raining down around her. She couldn't see Damien, couldn't see anyone through the smoke and muzzle flash. Just heard gunfire, screaming, the wet sounds of bullets hitting flesh. Then silence. Serena lifted her head. The penthouse looked like a war zone. Bodies everywhere. Viscari's men, all dead. Victor lying in a spreading pool of his own blood. And Damien, standing over Viscari with a gun to the old man's head. The microfilm, Viscari rasped. He'd been shot twice, once in the shoulder, once in the gut. You give it to me, I let you walk. You're not in a position to negotiate. Neither are you. Viscari coughed, blood on his teeth. My people know you're here. They're coming, dozens of them. You'll never make it out alive. Maybe not, but you won't either. Viscari's smile was all blood. Then we both die. How poetic. Serena stood on shaking legs, walked over to where Victor lay dying. His eyes found hers.
Lily, he whispered. She's safe? Yes. Good. That's good. His breathing was shallow, wet. I'm sorry for everything. Tell her I tried. I won't tell her anything. Victor's laugh was a death rattle. Probably for the best. He stopped breathing. Serena stared at the man who'd given her a daughter and nothing else. Felt nothing. No grief, no satisfaction. Just empty.
Damien still had his gun on Viscari. Your call. We can die here, or you can let me walk out with the microfilm and live long enough to regret it. And the woman? She comes with me. Viscari's eyes were fading. Blood loss. He was dying either way, but he managed one last smile. You think you've won. You think that film makes you safe. But there are copies. There are always copies. You're lying. Am I? Viscari's head lolled back. Guess you'll find out. Then he was gone. Eyes empty. Just another body in a room full of them. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. We have to go, Damien said. Serena couldn't move, just stared at the carnage. All these men dead because of her father's wine bottle, because of secrets and greed and the brutal math of survival. Serena, Damien's hand on her arm, firm, real. Now, she let him pull her toward the emergency stairs. They ran down 42 flights, her legs burning, lungs screaming. Burst out into the garage 2 blocks away where the SUV sat waiting. Lily was exactly where they'd left her, safe, alive, untouched by the horror upstairs. Damien drove. Serena held her daughter, didn't speak, didn't cry, just existed in the terrible quiet that came after violence. They were 10 miles outside Chicago when Damien's phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression darkening. What? Serena asked. Viscari was telling the truth. There were copies of the ledger. His lawyers have standing instructions to release them if he dies. Release them where? Everywhere. FBI, media, every criminal organization in the country. Damien's laugh was hollow. He turned the microfilm into a dead man's switch. If he goes down, everyone goes down with him.
So we're safe? From Viscari's organization? Yes. They'll be too busy trying to avoid federal indictments to worry about us. He glanced at her. But we just made enemies of every crime family that gets exposed in those files. Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. So this never ends. It ends when we disappear completely. New identities, new lives. Somewhere they'll never find us. Serena looked down at Lily, sleeping peacefully despite everything. Her daughter's face was soft in the dashboard light. Innocent, unbroken. She wanted to believe they could disappear, that somewhere out there was a life beyond this nightmare. But Victor's blood was still wet on her hands. Grace was still dead in that tunnel. And Damien Moretti sat beside her, the man who'd killed without hesitation to keep her alive. There was no going back, no clean way forward, just the terrible choice she'd already made when she warned him about that poisoned bottle. Where do we go? She asked quietly. Damien's eyes met hers in the rearview mirror. In them, she saw the same truth she felt. They were bound together now, by blood, by survival, by the daughter sleeping between them. I know a place, he said. End of the world, where people like us can breathe. Will we be safe there? No. His honesty was brutal and strangely comforting. But we'll be together, and for now, that's enough. Serena leaned her head back, closed her eyes, and let the darkness take her. Behind them, Chicago burned with federal raids and collapsing empires. Ahead, the road stretched into nothing. And between those 2 points, past and future, death and survival, Serena Vale held her daughter and chose to keep breathing. 1 mile at a time, 1 day at a time, until the world stopped hunting them, or until they learned how to hunt back. The safe house Damien called End of the World turned out to be a compound in the Montana wilderness, 3 hours north of anything resembling civilization. They arrived just as dawn broke over the mountains, painting snow-covered peaks in shades of copper and blood. Serena watched the landscape change through the SUV window, endless forest giving way to rocky terrain, paved roads dissolving into gravel, then dirt, then nothing but tire tracks through snow. Lily woke up as they pulled through a gate hidden between 2 massive pines.
She pressed her face to the glass, breath fogging it up. Mommy, it's like a fairy tale. Serena didn't have the heart to tell her that fairy tales didn't usually involve federal manhunts and dead bodies left cooling in Chicago penthouses. She just stroked her daughter's hair and said nothing. The compound was smaller than the one they'd lost. Stone and timber construction built into the mountainside like it had grown there. Solar panels on the roof. A generator shed. Outbuildings that probably held weapons and supplies. The whole place had the feel of something built by someone who understood that the world could end at any moment and wanted to be ready when it did. How long have you owned this? Serena asked. I don't. It belongs to a friend who doesn't exist on paper. Damien killed the engine, scanned the tree line with the automatic wariness of someone who'd survived too many ambushes. No one knows about this place. Not my people. Not my enemies. Just me. And now us. And now you. They unloaded in silence. Lily carried Rexy in her backpack. Serena took the duffel bag with their few belongings. Damien grabbed weapons and the microfilm canister, which he hadn't let out of his sight since the storage unit. Inside, the compound was surprisingly comfortable. Hardwood floors, a kitchen with modern appliances running off solar power. 3 bedrooms upstairs, floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over a valley so pristine it hurt to look at. There's a town 40 miles south, Damien said, setting down the weapons. We'll need supplies, food, winter clothes, medicine. I'll make a run tomorrow. What about today? Today we rest and figure out what the hell we do next. Lily was already exploring, opening doors and exclaiming over each new discovery. She found a room with bunk beds and declared it hers. Serena followed her up, helped her unpack the few toys they'd managed to grab. The whole time, her hands moved on autopilot, while her mind replayed the penthouse. Victor's blood spreading across marble. Vescari's smile as he died. The terrible certainty that this would never be over. Mommy? Lily looked up from arranging her stuffed animals. Are we going to live here now? For a while, baby. I like it. It's quiet. She paused. Is the bad man really gone? Serena knelt beside her daughter, looked into those dark eyes, Victor's eyes, and tried to find the right lie to tell. Yes, he's gone. Good. Lily hugged Rexy tight. I don't want any more bad men. Me neither. But even as she said it, Serena knew there would always be more. Bad men were infinite. Victor had taught her that. Damien had confirmed it. The world was full of people who would hurt you for money, for power, for the simple pleasure of watching you break. She tucked Lily in for a nap. The girl was exhausted despite sleeping in the car, and went back downstairs. Damien stood at the windows, phone pressed to his ear, having a conversation in clipped Italian that sounded like a threat. He hung up when he saw her. Problem? She asked. My contact in Chicago. Says the feds raided 6 Cortel properties this morning. Vescari's lawyers made good on the dead man's switch. The ledger's out there. Is that good or bad? Both. Good because it means every criminal organization connected to Cortel is scrambling to cover their tracks. They're too busy to hunt us. He poured himself a drink from a bottle on the counter. Whiskey. Neat. Bad because it also means we're witnesses to something bigger than we understood. And witnesses have a habit of dying in accidents. How long do we have? Before someone connects the dots? Days. Maybe a week if we're lucky. He downed the whiskey in one swallow. I've got contacts working on new identities. Canadian passports, background documentation, the works. Once those come through, we disappear. Completely. Serena sat on the couch, suddenly exhausted beyond measure. Every muscle ached. Her jaw still throbbed where Marcus had hit her. She could smell gun smoke in her clothes, or maybe that was just her imagination. What happens to Damien Moretti? She asked. He dies. Officially. Car accident, probably. Body burned beyond recognition. His voice was flat. I've done it before. It's easier than you'd think. And who do you become? Someone boring, someone no one looks at twice. He poured another drink, didn't touch it. What about you? Who does Serena Vale become? She hadn't thought about it, hadn't let herself. But now, sitting in this beautiful prison at the end of the world, she forced herself to imagine it. A new name, a new past. A life built on lies told to neighbors and teachers and everyone who might ask questions.
I don't know, she said quietly. I've spent so long just trying to survive, I forgot what it's like to live. Damien studied her face. You're good at surviving. So are cockroaches. Doesn't mean they're happy.
Something that might have been a smile touched his mouth. Fair point. They sat in silence for a while. Outside, snow started falling, thick flakes that caught the morning light, beautiful and cold and indifferent to human suffering. Serena's phone buzzed. She'd turned it off after Victor's call, but Damien had given her a burner. She checked it now. Unknown number. Her stomach dropped. Don't answer it, Damien said. She answered it.
Mrs. Vale. The voice was unfamiliar, professional. My name is Agent Sarah Garrison, FBI. I'd like to talk to you about the Cortell investigation. Serena's hand tightened on the phone. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you do. You were at the Cartier building last night. We have security footage of you entering with Damien Moretti and Victor Raines. We also have 6 bodies in a penthouse registered to Leon Viscari. I want a lawyer.
You're not under arrest, Mrs. Vale. I'm offering you a chance to cooperate. Tell us what you know about the Cortell Syndicate's operations, and we can offer protection. For you and your daughter. The mention of Lily made Serena's blood run cold. How did you get this number? We've been monitoring Moretti's known associates. You became one the moment you left Vespero with him. Agent Garrison's voice softened slightly. I've read your files, Serena. Single mother, 2 jobs, no criminal record. You're not like the people Moretti usually associates with, which means you're either very unlucky or you know something we need. I don't know anything. Your father worked for the Cortell Syndicate. He kept records. We believe those records are now in Damien Moretti's possession. If you help us recover them, we can end this. No more running, no more violence. Serena looked at Damien. He was watching her with an expression that said he knew exactly who was on the other end of the line. And if I don't cooperate, she asked, then you're an accessory to 6 murders. Conspiracy to obstruct justice. We'll arrest you, and Lily goes into foster care while you await trial. Agent Garrison paused. I don't want that, Serena, but I will do it if I have to. You have 24 hours to decide. After that, we come looking. The line went dead. Serena set the phone down carefully. Her hands were shaking. They know we're involved. They want the microfilm. They can want all they like. Damien's voice was ice. We don't have 24 hours. If the FBI is calling, they're already moving assets into position. They'll have this place surrounded by nightfall. How? You said no one knew about it. They don't need to know. They just need to track our phones, our vehicle, satellite imagery. He was already moving, grabbing weapons, checking magazines. We have maybe 6 hours before they triangulate our position. Less if they're working with local law enforcement. So we run again. We run smarter. Damien pulled out the microfilm canister, stared at it like it was a live grenade. This is what they want. This is what everyone wants. Your father spent years documenting crimes, and now that documentation is destroying lives faster than the crimes themselves ever did. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe we give it to them. Serena stared at him. You want to cooperate with the FBI? I want to survive. There's a difference. He set the canister on the table between them. We hand this over. The FBI gets their prosecution. The Cortell Syndicate collapses completely. And we walk away clean. You really believe that? No. But it's better than the alternative. Which is? We keep running until someone kills us. Viscari's people, the feds, whoever finds us first. Damien's jaw tightened. I can protect you from criminals, Serena. I can't protect you from the United States government. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him there had to be another way. But she'd seen enough of this world to know that sometimes there wasn't. Sometimes the only choice was which cage you walked into. What happens to you? She asked. If we cooperate, I'll take a deal. Testify against whoever's left of the Cortell network. Spend a few years in federal prison, maybe less with good behavior. He said it so calmly, like prison was just an inconvenience. You and Lily get witness protection, new identities, fresh start. Without you, without me, the words hung between them. Serena realized with a strange jolt that the idea bothered her. This man who'd dragged her into hell, who'd killed without hesitation, who represented everything dangerous about the world. She'd started to rely on him. started to trust him in a way that felt both inevitable and terrifying. "I need to think," she said. "Think fast. Clock's running." Serena went upstairs, checked on Lily, who was still sleeping peacefully, stood at the window in the master bedroom and watched snow fall over the mountains. Everything was so beautiful here, so far from Chicago and blood and federal agents making threats over burner phones. She could see a future in this place. Quiet mornings, Lily growing up surrounded by trees instead of sirens, a life where the worst thing that happened was a broken water heater or a harsh winter. But it was a fantasy. This compound wasn't sanctuary. It was just another cage, prettier than most, but a cage nonetheless. Her phone buzzed again. Different number this time. She should have ignored it, should have thrown the phone out the window and pretended the world outside didn't exist. She answered. "Serena Vale?" Another unfamiliar voice. Male this time, older. "My name is Marcus Chen. I'm an attorney representing Thomas Vale's estate." Serena's blood went cold. "My father's estate was settled 3 years ago. The probate was settled, but certain assets were held in trust pending resolution of outstanding legal issues. Papers rustled on the other end. I apologize for the delay in contacting you. The trust documentation only recently came to my attention." "What trust?" "Your father established a legal trust 6 months before his death. It contains a single asset, a storage facility in Wisconsin containing his personal wine collection. According to the trust documents, ownership transfers to you on your 28th birthday." Serena's mind raced. "I turned 28 last month." "I'm aware, which is why I'm calling. The facility and its contents are now legally yours. I have the keys and access codes whenever you're ready to claim them. I already went through his storage unit in Chicago. There was nothing there but the bottle." "This is a different property. According to the paperwork, your father rented it under a corporate entity, very discreetly. The trust documents suggest the collection inside is quite valuable." Serena's hands had gone numb. "How valuable?" "Conservatively, 7 figures, perhaps more depending on condition and provenance." Chen paused. "There's also a letter. Your father left instructions that it be given to you personally when you claim the trust. I can courier it to you if you provide an address." "No, I'll come to you. Where's your office?" "Madison, Wisconsin. But Mrs. Vale, I should mention, several other parties have expressed interest in your father's collection. They've been quite insistent. I've informed them that the trust is ironclad, but who? Who's been asking? I'm not at liberty to say. Attorney-client privilege, but I thought you should know that you may not be the only person interested in claiming this property." The line went dead. Serena stood frozen, phone pressed to her ear, her mind trying to process what she'd just heard. Another storage unit, another collection, another secret her father had kept. She went downstairs. Damien was still at the window, watching the tree line. "We have a problem," she said. "Another one?" She told him about the call, about the trust, the collection, the mysterious interested parties. As she spoke, she watched his expression shift from skepticism to calculation. "It's a trap," he said when she finished. "Maybe. Or maybe my father really did have another collection. Why wouldn't he tell you about it? Why wouldn't he tell me he was working for criminals?" Serena's voice rose. "He kept a lot of secrets. Maybe this was just another one." Damien pulled out his phone, started typing. "What was the lawyer's name?" "Marcus Chen, Madison, Wisconsin." More typing. Then Damien's expression darkened. "He exists. Legitimate attorney, specializes in estate law, office address, checks out. So it's not a trap." "I didn't say that. I said he's real. Doesn't mean he's not being used." Damien set his phone down. "Think about the timing. The feds call offering a deal. Then this lawyer appears with a convenient treasure hunt. That's not coincidence. What if it's real? What if there's something in that storage unit that could help us? Or kill us?" "Everything might kill us." Serena heard the desperation in her own voice. "We can't just sit here waiting for the FBI to kick down the door. If there's even a chance my father left something useful, useful how? More wine bottles? More microfilm? How many more secrets do you need before you realize they're all poison?" The words hit like a slap. Serena stepped back, fury rising in her chest. Don't you dare blame my father for this. He was trying to protect me. He was trying to protect himself.
The ledger, the hidden collections, all of it. That was his insurance policy. And when it didn't work, when they killed him anyway, you inherited the debt. You don't know that. I know exactly that. I've seen it 100 times. Good people who think they can play both sides, who think they can document the crimes and stay clean, they all end up dead. Damien's voice was harsh. Your father wasn't a victim, Serena. He was a collaborator who got caught. She slapped him, hard. The crack echoed through the room. Damien didn't move, just stood there, a red mark blooming on his cheek. Feel better? He asked quietly. No. Her hand stung. Her eyes burned. But it's a start. They stared at each other. Two people bound together by violence and survival and the terrible intimacy of shared trauma. Serena wanted to hate him, wanted to scream that he was wrong, that her father had been good, that there was some explanation that made sense of all this. But she couldn't. Because deep down, in a place she didn't want to examine, she knew Damien might be right. I'm going to Wisconsin, she said finally. With or without you. That's suicide. Then I'll die knowing the truth. That's more than I have now. Damien studied her face, looking for something. Weakness, maybe, or strength. After a long moment, he nodded once. Fine. We go to Wisconsin. We check out this storage unit, and if it's a trap, then we spring it together. You're learning. His smile was grim. Get Lily ready. We leave in an hour. They packed quickly. Winter clothes, weapons, the microfilm canister that had caused so much death. Lily woke up confused, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Are we leaving already? We just got here. Change of plans, baby. Serena helped her into a thick coat. We're going on another trip. I'm tired of trips. I know, me too. They drove south in heavy snow. The roads were treacherous, barely visible. Damien navigated by memory and instinct, the SUV's tires fighting for purchase on black ice. Serena held Lily in the back seat and watched the wilderness slide past. They stopped once, at a gas station in the middle of nowhere. While Damien filled the tank, Serena took Lily inside to use the bathroom. The attendant was a kid, maybe 19, more interested in his phone than the customers. Serena bought coffee and granola bars. Lily wanted hot chocolate. They stood at the counter while the kid rang them up, and that's when Serena saw the TV mounted above the register. News footage, the Cartier building, yellow police tape, a reporter standing in front of the entrance talking about a gang war and multiple fatalities. Then a photo filled the screen. Her photo. Serena Vale, a person of interest in the ongoing investigation. Anyone with information is asked to contact. Serena grabbed Lily's hand and walked out before the kid could look up from his phone. Her heart hammered against her ribs. They knew her face now, had probably sent it to every law enforcement agency in the country. She got in the SUV, hands shaking so badly she could barely buckle Lily's seatbelt. They have my photo, she told Damien. It was on the news. I know, saw it this morning. He put the vehicle in gear, pulled back onto the highway. FBI's moving faster than I expected. They want this wrapped up before the press makes it bigger than it already is. So what do? We keep moving, and we pray Marcus Chen has answers worth dying for. They reached Madison after dark. The city was smaller than Chicago, cleaner, the kind of place where people probably didn't lock their doors and thought crime was something that happened elsewhere. Serena felt exposed driving through well-lit streets, certain that every passing car held federal agents waiting to box them in. Marcus Chen's office was in a modest building near the Capitol. Second floor, frosted glass door with gold lettering. The lights were on despite the late hour. Damien parked 2 blocks away, studied the building through binoculars he'd pulled from somewhere. I count 2 heat signatures inside, Chen and someone else. Could be a secretary or a client. Could be. He didn't sound convinced. We go in. We keep it fast. In and out. No conversation beyond what's necessary. What about Lily? She stays in the car, doors locked, engine running. Anything goes wrong, she drives away. She's 6. She's smart. You've taught her to be. Trust that. Serena didn't want to leave her daughter alone again with instructions to flee if violence found them. But there was no alternative. This world had stopped offering alternatives somewhere between the poisoned wine bottle and Victor's body cooling on marble. She unbuckled Lily, pulled her into the front seat, showed her the gear shift, the pedals she couldn't reach, the emergency brake.
If we're not back in 10 minutes, or if you see police, you press this button. She indicated the ignition. The car stops. Then you get out and you run to that store. She pointed at a lit convenience store on the corner. You tell them your name and you ask them to call the number Mr. Moretti showed you. Remember it? Lily recited the number perfectly. Good girl, can you do this? I don't want to. I know, baby, but can you? Lily's jaw set. Victor's stubborn determination in a 6-year-old's face. Yes. That's my girl. Serena and Damien crossed the street. The building's front entrance was unlocked. They climbed stairs that smelled like old carpet and industrial cleaner. The second-floor hallway was empty, fluorescent lights humming overhead. Chen's office door was closed. Damien tried the handle, unlocked. They went in. Marcus Chen sat behind a desk covered in paperwork. He was exactly what his voice suggested. Late 50s, tired eyes, the kind of lawyer who'd spent his career doing quiet work for people who needed discretion. He looked up when they entered, showing no surprise. Mrs. Vale, thank you for coming. His gaze shifted to Damien. And you must be Mr. Moretti. I've heard a great deal about you. None of it good, I'm sure. Damien's hand stayed near his concealed weapon. Who else is here?
I'm sorry? There's another person in this office. Where are they? Chen's expression didn't change. Ah, yes. I suppose introductions are in order. A door opened behind them. Serena spun, Damien's weapon already drawn. A woman stepped out, 50s, professional suit, FBI credentials held up like a shield. Agent Sarah Garrison. Her voice was the same one from the phone. Thank you for making this easy, Mrs. Vale. Serena's stomach dropped. You set us up. I offered you a deal. You declined. So I created circumstances where you'd come to me voluntarily. Garrison gestured at Chen. Mr. Chen is real. The trust is real. Your father did establish it 6 months before his death. Everything I told you was true. Except the part where it wasn't a trap. It's not a trap. It's an opportunity. Garrison pulled out her phone, showed them a photo. The storage facility. Industrial, nondescript. We've had that property under surveillance for 2 years. Waiting for you to claim it. Waiting to see what Thomas Vale hid there that was worth more than his life. Damien's weapon was still aimed at her chest. Put your hands where I can see them. I'm unarmed, and I'm alone. You can shoot me if you like, but then you'll never know what's in that storage unit, and neither will anyone else. Garrison's smile was thin. Your father was smart, Mrs. Vale. He built a fail-safe into the trust. If you don't claim it personally, with proper identification and the key Mr. Chen holds, the entire facility is programmed to incinerate its contents in 72 hours. Bullshit, Damien said. It's true. Chen held up a key attached to a digital timer. The mechanism was installed 3 years ago. It's been counting down since Mrs. Vale's 28th birthday. We now have approximately 48 hours before everything inside burns. Serena's mind raced. Why tell us this? Why not just force me to open it? Because I need your cooperation. Whatever's in that facility, your father encrypted it somehow. We've scanned the interior. It's full of wine bottles, hundreds of them. Any one of them could contain what we're looking for, or all of them, or none. Garrison pocketed her phone. I need you to tell me which bottles matter, and I need Damien Moretti to testify about the Cortel Syndicate's operations. In exchange, you both walk away with immunity. And if we refuse, then the bottles burn, the evidence is lost, and I arrest you both for the murders at the Cartier building. Her voice hardened. 6 bodies, Mrs. Vale. Multiple witnesses. Security footage. You'll spend the rest of your life in federal prison while your daughter grows up in foster care. Is that really what you want? The room felt too small, too hot. Serena couldn't breathe. Damien lowered his weapon slowly. How do we know you'll honor the deal? You don't. But you also don't have a choice. Garrison gestured to Chen. The key, please. Chen slid it across the desk. Garrison picked it up, held it out to Serena. 48 hours. The facility is 2 hours from here. We can go now, or we can wait until morning. Your call. Serena looked at the key. Such a small thing. Metal and plastic and a digital display counting down to 0. Her father's last secret. His final trap. She took it. We go now. Smart. Garrison headed for the door. My car's downstairs. We'll take mine. Less conspicuous than yours. What about Lily? Serena asked. She comes with us. I have a female agent who specializes in child services. She'll keep your daughter comfortable while we handle this. Damien stepped forward. She stays with her mother. That's not negotiable. Neither is this. He raised his weapon again. The girl stays with Serena, or we all go down together. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Garrison nodded once. Fine. The girl stays with her mother. But if this goes wrong, if you try anything, she sees exactly what happens when people cross the FBI. Understood? Serena wanted to hit her, wanted to grab Lily and run and never stop running, but she just nodded. They collected Lily from the SUV. The girl was crying silently, tears streaming down her face. She'd been alone for less than 5 minutes, but it had felt like forever. I'm here, baby. I'm right here. I thought you weren't coming back. I always come back. Always. But even as she said it, Serena wondered if that was a promise she could keep. They drove north in Garrison's sedan. Another agent drove. Young, stone-faced, the kind of recruit who'd shoot without hesitation if ordered. Damien sat in the back with Serena and Lily, his body positioned between them and the agents. The storage facility appeared after 2 hours of silent driving. It was exactly as Garrison had described. Industrial, surrounded by chain-link fence, security lights turning night into harsh noon. But there was something else. Other vehicles in the lot. Black SUVs with tinted windows. Garrison swore under her breath. We have company. Who? Damien asked. Unknown. They're not ours. She pulled out her phone, barked orders into it. All units converge on my position. We have possible hostiles. The sedan stopped at the facility entrance. Garrison got out, weapon drawn. The young agent followed. Serena could see figures moving between the buildings. Too many. Too well organized. This is a setup, Damien said quietly. I know. Serena held Lily closer. What do we do? We get ready to run. But before they could move, the passenger door was yanked open. Hands grabbed Serena, pulled her out. Lily screamed. Damien fought back, but there were too many. 4 men, 5, all armed, all moving with military precision. Someone pressed a gun to Lily's head. Everything stopped. Serena froze. Damien froze. Even Garrison stopped moving, her weapon tracking between targets but finding no safe shot. A figure emerged from between the SUV's expensive suit. Salt and pepper hair, eyes that held the cold certainty of someone who'd never lost. Mrs. Vale, Mr. Moretti, Agent Garrison. His voice was cultured, almost friendly. My name is Jonathan Cartwright. I represent certain interests that would very much like to discuss your father's wine collection. Who are you? Garrison demanded. Someone with significantly more authority than the FBI. Cartwright gestured, and his men produced credentials. CIA. This matter has been elevated to national security. You're all free to leave, except Mrs. Vale and Mr. Moretti. They're coming with me. Like hell. Opo, my shall. Agent Garrison, you're a patriot. I respect that. But this is beyond your clearance. Stand down or I'll have you detained. Cartwright's smile was ice. We're the good guys, I promise. But we're also the ones who get to decide what that means. Garrison looked at Serena. For 1 second, something almost human crossed her face. Regret, maybe. Or pity. Then it was gone, buried under professional resignation. Do what he says, she told Serena. I'll make sure your daughter is safe. No. Serena lunged for Lily, but the hands holding her tightened. You can't take her. She'll be fine. Child Services will place her temporarily until this is resolved. You promised immunity. You promised. I lied. Garrison's voice was flat. Welcome to the real world, Mrs. Vale. They pulled Lily away screaming. Serena fought, but it was useless. She watched her daughter disappear into a government sedan, Rexy clutched in her arms, her face pressed against the window. Then the sedan was gone. And Serena stood in a parking lot surrounded by men with guns, her daughter taken, her future dissolved, every promise revealed as the lie it had always been. Damien stood beside her, blood dripping from a split lip where someone had hit him. His eyes met hers. I'm sorry.
he said quietly. Don't. Her voice was empty. Just don't. Cartwright gestured to the storage facility. Shall we? Your father's timer is still counting down, and I'd very much like to see what was worth all this trouble. They walked toward the building. Serena's legs moved automatically. Her mind had gone somewhere else, somewhere cold and far away where daughters didn't get ripped from their mother's arms by people who claimed to be heroes. The storage unit was massive, climate-controlled, rows and rows of wine racks stretching into dimness, bottles everywhere, thousands of them. Bordeaux, Burgundy, vintage champagne, rare ports. Her father's lifetime obsession arranged like a museum. Cartwright walked the aisles with the reverence of a collector. Magnificent. Truly magnificent. Your father had exquisite taste. What do you want? Serena's voice sounded distant to her own ears. The same thing everyone wants, the truth. Cartwright pulled out a document. Your father worked for us. CIA asset, recruited 15 years ago. His job was to infiltrate the Cortel Syndicate's money laundering operation and document everything. He did his job beautifully. He never worked for the CIA. He did. Under deep cover, so deep even you didn't know. Cartwright set the document on a table. But then he got greedy, started keeping his own records, building his own leverage, and when we ordered him to stand down, he refused, said he had insurance. Understanding dawned cold and terrible. You killed him. We eliminated a liability. There's a difference. Cartwright's tone was almost apologetic. He was going to expose operations that couldn't be exposed, relationships that keep this country safe. We couldn't allow that. So you made it look like an accident. It was clean, professional. He didn't suffer. Cartwright gestured at the wine bottles. But before he died, he hid copies of his records. We've been looking for them ever since. The microfilm you found was just one cache. We believe there are others, hidden in bottles throughout this collection. Damien spoke for the first time. And you need Serena to find them because her father encrypted the system somehow. Precisely. He was quite clever. Each bottle has a code. Only someone who knows his system can identify which ones contain evidence and which are simply wine. Cartwright smiled. His daughter would know. She grew up watching him catalog his collection. Serena stared at the rows of bottles, hundreds of them. Any one could hide secrets. All of them could be traps. What happens after I find them? She asked. You and Mr. Moretti disappear. New identities. Enough money to live comfortably. Your daughter is returned to you. Everyone wins. Except my father. He's still dead. He chose his path. You get to choose yours. Cartwright checked his watch. You have 45 hours before the incendiary system activates. I suggest you start choosing quickly. He left. His men remained watching from the shadows, guns ready, patient as death. Serena walked the aisles. Damien followed. Neither spoke. She reached the far end of the storage unit and sank to the floor, her back against a wine rack. Lily was gone, taken by people who smiled while they threatened. Her father had been murdered by his own government, and she was trapped in a warehouse full of bottles, each one potentially containing evidence that could save or destroy her. Damien sat beside her, close but not touching. I can't do this, she said. I know. They took my daughter. I know. She's all I have. I know. His hand found hers in the darkness. But she's alive. That's more than most people in our situation get. Serena looked at him. Really looked. This man who'd killed for her, who'd lost everything to keep her safe, who sat beside her now in a tomb of her father's secrets with the same tired resignation she felt. Who are you? She asked. Really? No one important, just another monster trying to survive. You're not a monster. Yes, I am. We both are now. He squeezed her hand once. But monsters can still love, can still protect what matters. Your father understood that. My father got himself killed. Your father tried to fight the whole world alone. He failed because he didn't trust anyone. Damien's eyes were very dark in the low light. You don't have to make the same mistake. Serena wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that together they could find a way out of this nightmare. But trust was another luxury for people who hadn't watched everything they loved get stripped away. She stood, started examining bottles, looking for her father's codes, his patterns, the secret language he'd never taught her but expected her to understand anyway. 45 hours until everything burned. 45 hours to decode a dead man's obsession. 45 hours to save her daughter, or lose everything trying. The timer on the key in her pocket kept counting down, each second ticking toward oblivion. And in the darkness between wine bottles and government lies, Serena Vale began to understand exactly what kind of person she'd have to become to survive. Not the mother who'd worked double shifts and believed in playing by the rules. Not the victim who'd let men like Victor and Cartwright decide her fate. Something else. Something colder. Something that would do whatever was necessary. Lie, manipulate, kill to get Lily back. She pulled out the first bottle that matched her father's old cataloging system. Held it to the light. Saw the shadow inside. Found one, she said. Damien stood. How many more? I don't know. Maybe dozens? Maybe hundreds. Then we'd better get started. They worked through the night, bottle after bottle. Some held wine. Others held microfilm. A few contained USB drives sealed in waterproof containers, each one a piece of evidence, each one another nail in someone's coffin. Dawn came gray and cold. Cartwright returned with coffee and breakfast sandwiches like they were all friends working a puzzle together. Progress? He asked. Some. Serena didn't look at him. I need to see my daughter. Not possible. Then I stopped looking. Cartwright's smile thinned. Mrs. Vale, you're not in a position to negotiate. Neither are you. You need these bottles found before they burn. I'm the only one who can do it. So either you let me see Lily, or I walk out of here and let everything turn to ash. For a long moment, they stared at each other. Wills locked. Then Cartwright pulled out his phone, made a call. Bring the girl, 10 minutes, supervised. He hung up. 10 minutes. That's all you get. Lily arrived with a female agent. She looked small and scared and exhausted. When she saw Serena, she ran. Mommy! Serena caught her, held her tight enough to hurt, breathed in the smell of her daughter's hair, felt her heart restart after hours of numbness. Are you okay? Did they hurt you? No, but I'm scared. I want to go home. I know, baby. Soon, I promise. You always promise, but we never go home. The words cut deeper than any knife. Serena pulled back, looked into her daughter's face, saw the trust eroding, saw the first cracks of doubt. I will fix this, I swear. That's time, Cartwright said. No. The agent pulled Lily away. She screamed, reached for Serena, but they were already gone, back into the sedan, driving away. Serena stood in the parking lot shaking, rage and grief and helplessness churning into something that felt like violence waiting to be born. Damien's hand on her shoulder. Come on, let's finish this. They went back inside. Serena moved faster now, angry, desperate. She found bottle after bottle, decoded her father's system through sheer force of will and the memory of watching him work all those nights. 20 hours, 30. They didn't sleep, didn't stop, just worked until the collection revealed its secrets. By hour 40, they had everything. Dozens of microfilms, hard drives, documents proving that the CIA had been complicit in Cortel's operations for years, that politicians had taken bribes, that judges had looked the other way while people died. Cartwright examined the evidence with the expression of someone who'd already decided which parts would disappear. Excellent work, Mrs. Vale. This will be very helpful in prosecuting the appropriate targets. You mean the ones you don't protect? I mean the ones who aren't useful anymore. He started organizing the evidence into boxes. As promised, you and Mr. Moretti are free to go. New identities will be provided within the week. Your daughter will be returned tonight. I don't believe you. You don't have to, but you also don't have options. He was right. The timer had 6 hours left. The evidence was found. Lily was still hostage. There was nothing left but surrender. Serena walked out of the storage facility into cold morning light. Damien followed. They stood beside his SUV, watching Cartwright's people load evidence into unmarked vans. He's going to kill us, Damien said quietly. I know. Can't let us walk around knowing what we know. I know. So what do we do? Serena thought about Lily, about her daughter's face in that sedan window, about all the promises she'd made and broken. We do what we should have done from the beginning. She looked at Damien. We stop playing defense. We attack. With what? We have no leverage, no evidence, no power. We have one thing. Serena pulled out her phone, started composing a message. We have the truth, and we have the willingness to burn the whole world down if they don't give us our lives back. She hit send. The message went to every major news organization in the country, every journalist who'd covered the Cortell investigation, every person who might care that the CIA had murdered an American citizen and was covering it up. Attached to the message, copies of everything they'd found, every piece of evidence, every dirty secret. Damien stared at her. You just declared war on the United States government. No. I just made sure that if they kill us, everyone knows why. Serena pocketed her phone. Now we wait and see if they value secrecy more than revenge. The answer came faster than expected. Cartwright emerged from the facility, phone pressed to his ear, his face pale with rage. He walked directly to Serena. What did you do? I gave you a choice. Give me my daughter and let us disappear, or explain to the world why you murdered Thomas Vale. You stupid! Cartwright's hand moved toward his weapon. Damien was faster, gun out, aimed at Cartwright's head. Don't, Damien said softly. Every news organization has a dead man's switch now. We don't check in every 6 hours. Everything goes public. Kill us, and you destroy yourself. Cartwright's hand froze. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then he laughed. It was a cold, bitter sound. You magnificent fools, you think you've won? You think you can threaten me? He lowered his hand. Fine. You want your daughter? Take her. You want to disappear? Disappear. But understand this. You've made enemies today that will haunt you for the rest of your very short lives. We'll take our chances. Cartwright pulled out his phone, made a call, barked orders that sounded like surrender wrapped in threats. 20 minutes later, a sedan arrived. Lily stumbled out, confused and scared but alive. Serena ran to her, grabbed her, held her like the world was ending. Maybe it was. We're leaving, she told Damien. Right now. They got in the SUV. Damien drove, fast, away from the facility, away from Cartwright, away from everything that had tried to destroy them. In the rearview mirror, Serena watched the storage facility grow smaller, watched Cartwright standing in the parking lot, phone pressed to his ear, already planning how to hunt them. Where do we go? She asked. Somewhere they'll never look. Damien's hands were white-knuckled on the wheel. Somewhere we can finally stop running. Does that place exist? It has to, because if it doesn't, he glanced at Lily sleeping in the back seat. If it doesn't, we die fighting to create it. Serena leaned back, closed her eyes, and tried to imagine a world where she could sleep without nightmares. She couldn't. But for the first time since that night at Vespero, she thought maybe she could learn, one day at a time, 1 mile at a time, until the people hunting them got tired, or until she and Damien became predators too dangerous to hunt. Either way, the war had just begun. And this time, Serena Vale was done being the victim. They drove for 3 hours before Damien spoke. We're being followed. Serena's spine went rigid. She'd been watching Lily sleep, trying to memorize the peaceful curve of her daughter's face. Now she twisted in her seat, scanning the highway behind them. Where? Black Tahoe. 3 cars back. Been there since we left the facility. Damien's voice was flat, professional. They're staying just close enough to track us, far enough to avoid suspicion. Cartwright's people? Probably, or someone he called. Damien took an exit without signaling, merged into surface street traffic. The Tahoe followed. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. Serena's hand found the gun Damien had given her back at the Montana compound. The weight of it was foreign and terrible. She'd never fired a weapon in her life. Now she was calculating how to use it while her daughter slept 3 feet away. What do we do? We lose them, or we end them. Damien took a hard right into a residential neighborhood. Quiet streets, houses with Christmas lights still up even though it was March. Normal people living normal lives. Your choice. It wasn't really a choice. Serena knew that. They'd already crossed too many lines to pretend mercy was an option. But saying it out loud meant acknowledging what she'd become. End them, she said. Damien nodded once, took another turn. The neighborhood gave way to industrial wasteland, abandoned factories, empty lots where grass pushed through broken concrete. He pulled into a loading dock, killed the engine. Stay with Lily. Lock the doors. Someone approaches who isn't me. You shoot first and ask questions later.
Damien, I mean it, Serena. Hesitation gets you killed, gets her killed. His eyes were hard, empty. The predator he'd been hiding beneath civility finally surfacing completely. You wanted to stop running? This is what that looks like. He got out, disappeared into the shadows between buildings. Serena watched him go, then turned to check on Lily. Still sleeping, still innocent, still believing her mother could protect her from the world's sharp edges. The Tahoe appeared 60 seconds later, rolled past the loading dock slowly, windows dark, searching. Serena held her breath, counted heartbeats. The SUV's engine was loud in the silence. The Tahoe stopped, started backing up. Then gunfire shattered the quiet. Muzzle flashes from the rooftop above, Damien up high, firing down. The Tahoe's windshield exploded. The driver slumped. The vehicle swerved, crashed into a concrete barrier. Doors opened. Men spilled out. 4 of them, armed, professional. They scattered, using the Tahoe for cover, returning fire at the rooftop. Lily woke up screaming. Serena grabbed her, pulled her down below the dashboard. Stay low, baby. Don't move. What's happening? Just stay down. More gunfire. Closer now. One of the men had spotted their SUV, was advancing toward it with his weapon raised. Serena could see his face through the windshield. Young, maybe 30, following orders without question. She raised her gun, hand shaking, finger on the trigger. The man was 10 feet away. 8, 6, she fired. The recoil nearly broke her wrist. The bullet went wide, spiderwebbing the windshield. The man dove for cover, returned fire. Rounds punched through the door, missing Serena by inches. Lily screamed louder. Then Damien was there, appearing behind the man like a ghost, one hand over his mouth, the other driving a blade into his kidney. The man dropped without a sound. Damien circled the SUV, checking angles. 2 more men down near the Tahoe. One was bleeding out, clutching his throat. The other wasn't moving. The 4th had disappeared. "Where's the last one?" Serena shouted. "I don't—" The window beside Lily exploded. Glass rained down. The 4th man had flanked them, was reaching through the broken window, grabbing for Lily. Serena didn't think, just moved. Raised the gun point blank and pulled the trigger. The man's head snapped back. Blood sprayed. He dropped. Silence crashed down like a physical weight. Serena stared at the body, at the gun in her hand, at Lily covered in glass but unhurt. Her ears rang. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. "Mommy?" Lily's voice was small, broken. "Did you kill him?" Serena couldn't answer, couldn't breathe, just stared at what she'd done. Damien yanked open the door. "We need to move. Now. Someone heard those shots." He grabbed Serena's shoulder, pulled her back to reality. She blinked, nodded, helped Lily out of the glass-covered seat and into the back of the Tahoe. Less damaged, still drivable. Damien drove. Fast and reckless, putting distance between them and the bodies. Serena sat in the back with Lily, holding her daughter who wouldn't stop shaking. "I'm sorry," Serena whispered. "I'm so sorry you had to see that. You killed him to save me." "Yes. Good." Lily's voice was cold, distant, the voice of someone much older. "He was going to hurt me. You stopped him." Serena wanted to cry, wanted to scream that this wasn't how 6-year-olds should think, that killing someone to protect your child shouldn't feel like victory, but the world had stopped caring about should a long time ago. They ditched the Tahoe 20 miles later, stole a pickup truck from a construction site, swapped plates with a junker in a Walmart parking lot. Damien moved like he'd done this 100 times. Maybe he had. "Where are we going?" Serena asked. "Detroit. I know people there. People who can get us what we need." "Which is?" "Weapons. Intel. A way to hit Cartwright before he hits us again." Damien glanced at her in the rearview mirror. His eyes were bloodshot, exhausted. "You did good back there. That man would have taken Lily if you'd hesitated." "I killed someone." "You saved your daughter. There's a difference." "Is there?" Damien didn't answer, just drove into the night. They reached Detroit near dawn. The city sprawled before them, broken and beautiful in the early light. Damien navigated through neighborhoods that looked like war zones.
burned-out buildings, streets full of potholes big enough to swallow cars. He pulled up outside a mechanic shop that looked abandoned. Graffiti covered the walls. The windows were boarded up. But when Damien knocked, 3 quick, 2 slow, the door opened immediately. The man inside was massive. 6'5", 300 pounds of muscle and scar tissue. He looked at Damien, then at Serena and Lily, and smiled. "Moretti, thought you were dead. Got close a few times. Can we come in?" "Depends. Feds following you?" "Not yet." "That's not a no." But the big man stepped aside. "Make it quick." Inside, the shop was a front. Past the empty bays and rusted equipment was a door leading to a basement. And in that basement was enough firepower to start a small war. Rifles lined the walls, handguns in cases, ammunition boxes stacked to the ceiling. The big man, Damien called him Grizz, watched them with the wariness of someone who'd survived by trusting no one. "What do you need?" Grizz asked. "Everything. Weapons, body armor, secure communications, and information. Information costs extra. I can pay." "Not talking about money." Grizz's eyes flicked to Serena and Lily. "Talking about what happens when the people hunting you trace them here. I got a life, Damien. Got people I protect. Your war can't become mine." "It won't. We'll be gone by tonight." "You better be." Grizz pulled out a tablet, started scrolling. "What kind of information you need?" "Jonathan Cartwright, CIA, Black Ops Division. I need to know where he lives, where he works, where he's vulnerable." Grizz whistled low. "You're hunting a spook? That's suicide. It's survival. He won't stop coming. Only way to end this is to end him. Even if you kill him, there'll be 10 more. CIA doesn't forgive people who cross them." "I know." Damien's voice was cold, final. "But I only need to kill one." Grizz studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Give me 4 hours. I'll see what I can find." They waited in the basement. Lily curled up on an old couch, falling asleep almost immediately. Exhaustion had finally claimed her. Serena envied that. Her own mind wouldn't stop replaying the man's head snapping back. The blood. The terrible finality of what she'd done. Damien was checking weapons, methodical, efficient, loading magazines, testing actions, assembling a small arsenal. "You don't have to come," he said without looking up. "What?" "When I go after Cartwright, you and Lily can disappear. I'll give you money, new IDs. You start over somewhere, he'll never find you." "And you?" "I finish this. Then I disappear too. Different direction, safer for everyone." Serena watched him work. This man who'd saved her life repeatedly, who'd killed for her without hesitation, who was planning to walk into certain death to buy her a future. "No," she said. "Serena, no. We finished this together. You said I'm not alone in this anymore. That means you're not either." Damien's hands stopped moving. He looked at her, really looked. Something passed between them. Understanding, maybe. Or recognition that they'd both crossed the same line and there was no going back. "You know how this ends," he said quietly. "Yeah, with Cartwright dead or us dead. Those are the only options." "And you're okay with that?" Serena thought about Lily, about the life she wanted to give her daughter, about the fact that no matter where they ran, men like Cartwright would always find them. "I'm okay with fighting. That's all I've got left." Damien nodded once, went back to his weapons. Grizz returned 3 hours later with a folder full of intelligence. Surveillance photos, address records, daily routines. Cartwright's entire life laid bare. "He's careful," Grizz said. "Doesn't go anywhere without security, but he's got a weakness." "Which is?" "Pride. He thinks he's untouchable, which means he's sloppy where he should be paranoid." Grizz pointed to a photo. Cartwright leaving a brownstone in Georgetown. "That's his house. He goes there every night, alone except for one security detail. 2 men max." "Alarms?" "State of the art, but I can get you a jammer, give you maybe 90 seconds after you breach before anyone knows." 90 seconds isn't much. It's enough to kill 1 man. Grizz leaned back. "Question is whether you can live with what comes after." Damien pocketed the folder. "I'll worry about after, when it gets here." They loaded the stolen pickup with weapons and equipment. Body armor that was too big for Serena, but better than nothing. Communications headsets. The jammer Grizz had promised. Enough ammunition to fight a small army.
Lily woke up as they were leaving. She looked at the guns, the tactical gear, the way Damien and Serena moved like soldiers preparing for battle. "Are we going to kill more bad people?" she asked. The question gutted Serena. Her daughter shouldn't know that term. Shouldn't understand killing as a solution. But here they were. "One more," Serena said. "Just one more. Then it's over." "Promise?" "I promise." Another lie. Maybe the last one. Serena was running out of promises she could keep. They drove to Washington, 15 hours straight. Damien and Serena traded off behind the wheel. Lily slept in the back, waking occasionally to ask if they were there yet, then drifting off again. Somewhere in Pennsylvania, Serena's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Hello?" "Mrs. Vale," Cartwright's voice, calm, almost friendly. "I thought we had an understanding." "We do. You leave us alone or the world learns what you did." "About that. I've spent the last 48 hours doing damage control, killing stories, threatening editors, making evidence disappear." He paused. "Your insurance policy is worthless now. No one's going to publish it. No one's going to care." Serena's blood ran cold. "You're lying." "Am I?" "Check the news. See how many stories about Thomas Vale have been published. See how many journalists are still answering their phones." She pulled up news sites on her phone, searched for her father's name, found nothing. The stories that had been there yesterday were gone, scrubbed, like they'd never existed. "You can't erase everything," she said. "I can erase enough. And what I can't erase, I can discredit. By tomorrow morning, you'll be a conspiracy theorist and a murderer. Your daughter will be taken into protective custody. Damien Moretti will be dead in a black site somewhere." Cartwright's voice hardened. "This is your last chance. Surrender now, and I'll be merciful. Keep running, and I'll make sure you suffer." "Go to hell." She hung up, threw the phone out the window, watched it shatter on the highway behind them. "He killed the stories," she told Damien. "All of them. We have no leverage." "Then we do this the old-fashioned way." "Which is?" "Violence." They reached Georgetown after dark. The neighborhood was exactly what Serena expected. Old money, tree-lined streets, brownstones worth millions. The kind of place where neighbors didn't ask questions and cameras were everywhere. Damien parked 6 blocks from Cartwright's house. They sat in the truck watching the neighborhood through binoculars. Security was light, just like Grizz had said. 2 men in a sedan outside the brownstone. No visible patrols. Cartwright's arrogance on full display. "I'm going in alone," Damien said. "No." "Serena, someone needs to watch your back. Someone needs to make sure you get out." She checked her weapon, still half a magazine left. "And someone needs to make sure that bastard dies even if you don't make it." Damien stared at her. "You've changed." "No, I'm just done pretending I haven't." They left Lily in the truck with the doors locked and the engine running. Serena gave her daughter the same instructions she'd given too many times before. "If we're not back in 30 minutes, drive away. Find a police station. Ask for Agent Garrison. Tell her everything." Lily nodded. Didn't cry, just hugged Rexy and watched her mother prepare for murder with eyes that had seen too much. Serena and Damien moved through the shadows. Body armor under dark jackets. Weapons suppressed. The jammer in Damien's pocket counting down 90 seconds of chaos. The security detail never saw them coming. Damien took the driver, quick and silent, blade to the throat. The passenger was turning when Serena shot him through the window. The suppressor turned the gunshot into a cough. The man slumped. 90 seconds, Damien said, activating the jammer. They breached the front door. Damien had lockpicks that worked faster than keys. Inside was all expensive furniture and artwork, the kind of wealth that came from deciding who lived and died. Cartwright sat in his study, bourbon in one hand, phone in the other. He looked up when they entered and smiled. "I was wondering when you'd arrive. You made good time." "Stand up," Damien ordered. "Or what? You'll shoot me?" "We both know that's a death sentence. Kill me and you'll never stop running." Cartwright took a sip of bourbon. "But surrender now and I'll make this easy. Quick death. Your daughter gets adopted by a good family. Everyone wins. Except us. You were dead the moment you involved yourself in this. I'm just offering you a choice in how it happens."
Serena raised her weapon, aimed at his head. Her hands didn't shake this time. I'm done with choices. She fired. The bullet took Cartwright in the shoulder, spun him out of his chair. He hit the ground hard, gasping. Blood spread across his expensive shirt. Damien moved forward, put his boot on Cartwright's chest. Where are the copies? All of them. Every piece of evidence about Thomas Vale. Scattered, encrypted. You'll never find them all. Cartwright coughed blood. Kill me and they activate. Dead man switch, just like Viscari had. You're lying. Am I? Can you afford to bet your daughter's life on it? Damien's finger tightened on the trigger. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then footlights flooded the room, bright, blinding, voices shouting from outside. FBI, come out with your hands up. Serena's stomach dropped. It's a trap. Not a trap, a contingency. Cartwright's smile was all blood. I've had agents waiting for you since you left Detroit. Just needed you to pull the trigger so I could claim self-defense. The front door exploded inward. Federal agents poured through, tactical gear, assault rifles, shouting commands that overlapped into chaos. Drop your weapons, now! Damien looked at Serena. In his eyes, she saw calculation, strategy. The same decision tree she was running, they could fight, die in a shootout, leave Lily orphaned, or they could surrender. Hope the system they'd been running from might show mercy. Neither option was good. Both ended in cages or coffins. Serena thought about her daughter, about the promises she'd made, about the fact that dead mothers couldn't protect anyone. She dropped her weapon. Damien did the same. Agents swarmed them. Rough hands forced them to the ground, knees in their backs, zip ties cutting into wrists. Someone was reading Miranda rights, but Serena couldn't focus on the words. Cartwright was being loaded onto a stretcher, still smiling despite the blood. He'd won. Even bleeding out, he'd won. Your daughter is already in custody, he called out as they wheeled him past. Child Services. She'll be placed in foster care by morning. You'll never see her again. No. Serena tried to stand, but an agent shoved her back down. You can't take her. She's all I have. You should have thought of that before you declared war on the CIA. Then he was gone. And Serena was being hauled to her feet, dragged toward a waiting vehicle, everything she'd fought for dissolving like smoke. Damien struggled beside her. Lily, where's Lily? An agent hit him with a rifle butt. He went down hard. Damien! Serena screamed his name, but more hands were on her, forcing her into a van. The doors slammed shut. Darkness. The smell of metal and fear. She was alone. They drove for an hour. Maybe more. Serena lost track of time in the darkness. When the van finally stopped and the doors opened, she was somewhere underground. Concrete walls, harsh fluorescent lights, the kind of place that didn't exist on any map. They took her to an interrogation room, chained her to a table, left her there for hours. When the door finally opened, it wasn't Cartwright. It was Agent Garrison. Mrs. Vale. She sat across the table, placed a folder between them. You've made quite a mess. Where's my daughter? Safe. For now. Child Protective Services has her in a secure facility. I want to see her. That's not possible. She's 6 years old. She's terrified. She needs her mother. What she needs is a mother who isn't a murderer. Garrison opened the folder. Crime scene photos. Bodies. The man Serena had shot outside the Tahoe. You killed a federal agent today. Did you know that? Serena's stomach dropped. He was trying to kidnap my daughter. He was trying to protect you. We had orders to bring you in safely. You shot him in the face. That's not what happened. That's exactly what happened. We have witnesses. We have forensics. We have you dead to rights for murdering a federal agent. Garrison leaned forward. You're looking at life in prison, Serena. No parole, no appeals. Life in a concrete box while your daughter grows up thinking you're a monster. I'm not. Yes, you are. You became exactly what this world wanted you to be. A killer. Just like Damien Moretti. Just like your father. Garrison's voice softened. But it doesn't have to end this way. You can still make this right. How? Testify. Tell us everything about Moretti's organization. Every contact, every safe house, every crime you witnessed. Give us enough to dismantle his entire network. And Lily? Goes home with you. Reduced sentence. Maybe even time served if you cooperate fully. Garrison pulled out a pen, placed it on the table. All you have to do is sign this statement. Confirm that Damien Moretti coerced you into participating in his crimes. That you were a victim, not a willing participant. Serena stared at the pen, at the statement, at the escape route Garrison was offering. It was a lie. Every word of it. Damien hadn't coerced her. She'd made her own choices, pulled her own trigger. Become a killer because the world demanded it, but signing meant getting Lily back, meant a future, however tainted. Where's Damien now, she asked. Separate facility? He'll be charged with enough crimes to ensure he never sees daylight again. Garrison's expression was neutral, professional. He's not your concern anymore, Serena. Your daughter is. So ask yourself, what's more important? Loyalty to a man you barely know, or a future with your child? The answer should have been obvious. Lily, always Lily. Everything Serena had done had been for her daughter. But she thought about Damien, about the way he'd shielded her with his body when the compound burned, about Grace dying to buy them time, about Victor's last words and Vescari's blood and all the bodies left behind in their wake. She thought about the person she'd become, not the victim, not the survivor, something else, something that didn't break promises even when breaking them was smarter. No, she said. Excuse me? I'm not signing it. I'm not testifying against Damien. Serena met Garrison's gaze. Charge me. Lock me up. Do whatever you want, but I'm not giving you him. Garrison's expression hardened. You're making a mistake. Probably, but it's my mistake to make. Your daughter will know her mother wasn't a coward, that I didn't save myself by sacrificing someone who protected me. Serena leaned back in her chair. You want Damien Moretti? You'll have to find him yourself. Garrison stared at her for a long moment. Then she gathered her folder, stood, and walked to the door. You just condemned yourself to life in prison. I hope he was worth it. The door closed. Locked. Serena was alone again. She closed her eyes. Thought about Lily. Wondered if her daughter would understand someday. Wondered if choosing integrity over survival made her brave or stupid. Probably both. Time passed. Hours. Days. Serena lost track. They moved her to a cell. Concrete walls, a cot, a toilet, nothing else. Meals came through a slot in the door. No one spoke to her. She was on day 3 when the lights went out. Complete darkness. Then the emergency lights kicked in. Red, pulsing. An alarm started wailing. Serena stood, pressed her face to the narrow window in her cell door, saw guards running past, heard gunfire. Close. Getting closer. Then her door opened. Damien stood in the hallway, blood on his face, a rifle in his hands. Behind him, the corridor was full of bodies. We need to go, he said. How? Later, move. He grabbed her hand. They ran through chaos. More gunfire. Damien returned it without slowing. They reached a stairwell, climbed 3 flights, burst through a door onto a rooftop. A helicopter waited, Grizz at the controls. Get in, he shouted over the rotors. They climbed aboard. The helicopter lifted off as federal agents poured onto the roof. Bullets sparked off the aircraft's hull. Grizz banked hard, putting the building between them and the shooters. Lily! Serena shouted over the noise. Where's Lily? Damien pulled out a tablet, showed her a location pin. Child Services Facility, 20 minutes from here. We're getting her? We're getting her. The helicopter cut through the night. Serena watched the city blur beneath them. Thought about what they'd just done. Federal agents dead. A prison break. Every law enforcement agency in the country would be hunting them now. No going back, no surrender. Just forward into whatever came next. The Child Services Facility was a nondescript building in suburban Maryland. Grizz set the helicopter down in the parking lot. Alarms immediately started screaming. Damien was out first. Weapon up. Anyone tries to stop us, they go down. No hesitation. They breached the front entrance. A security guard went for his radio. Damien put him on the ground. Not dead, just unconscious. They moved through hallways, following the tablet, Lily's signal getting stronger. They found her in a room on the 2nd floor. She was alone, sitting on a bed, holding Rexy. When she saw Serena, her face transformed. Mommy! Serena ran to her, grabbed her, held her so tight neither could breathe. I've got you, baby.
I've got you. I knew you'd come. I knew it. Always. I'll always come for you. Damien appeared in the doorway. We need to leave. Now. They ran back to the helicopter. Staff tried to stop them. Damien fired warning shots. People scattered. They climbed aboard. Grizz hit the throttle. The helicopter climbed into the night sky. Below, sirens converged on the facility. Too late. They were already gone. Serena held Lily in her lap, felt her daughter's heartbeat against her chest. Real. Alive. Safe for now. Where are we going? She asked Damien. Mexico. Then further. Somewhere they'll never find us. They'll never stop looking. I know. He looked at her. Blood on his face, exhaustion in his eyes, but also something else. Determination. But we'll keep moving, keep fighting, as long as it takes. Serena thought about the life she'd imagined for Lily. Quiet, normal, safe. That future was gone now, burned away by choices and violence and the terrible math of survival. But maybe there was another future, harder, dangerous, but free. Okay, she said, let's run. The helicopter cut through the darkness. Behind them, the eastern seaboard lit up with alerts and manhunts and federal fury. Ahead, the border. And beyond that, the unknown. Serena held her daughter and watched the world shrink beneath them. This was her life now, running, fighting, always one step ahead of the people who wanted them dead. But they were together, the three of them. A broken family forged in violence. And for now, in this moment between the past and whatever came next, that was enough. The helicopter flew south into the night, and behind them, the war they'd started burned brighter than ever. The helicopter crossed into Mexican airspace just before dawn. Serena watched the border disappear behind them, a line on a map that meant everything and nothing. Behind that line was law, order, the illusion of safety. Ahead was chaos, freedom bought with blood and maintained through vigilance. Grizz set them down on private land 40 miles south of Tijuana. A compound smaller than Damien's Montana place, but better hidden. Adobe walls, solar panels, a well that pulled water from deep underground. The kind of place built by someone who understood that civilization was temporary, but survival was eternal. This is as far as I go, Grizz said, killing the rotors. I've got heat coming down in Detroit. Need to clean that up before it spreads. Damien clasped his shoulder. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. What you did tonight, breaking out of a federal facility, kidnapping a child from state custody, that's not something they forgive. Ever. Grizz's eyes were hard, knowing. They'll hunt you until one of you is dead, maybe longer. I know. Good. Just making sure. Grizz glanced at Serena and Lily. Keep them safe, brother. That's all that matters now. He took off before the sun fully rose. The helicopter became a speck, then nothing. Serena stood in the desert silence, holding Lily's hand, and tried to imagine what came next. Damien was already inside the compound, checking systems. Water worked. Electricity worked. The pantry held enough canned goods to last months. He moved through rooms with the efficiency of someone who'd planned for this exact scenario 100 times. How long have you owned this place? Serena asked. I don't. It belongs to a shell corporation that belongs to another shell corporation. Bought it 6 years ago when I started thinking about exit strategies. He opened a safe hidden behind a false wall. Cash, passports, weapons. I never thought I'd actually use it. And now? Now it's home. At least until we figure out the next move. Lily had found a bedroom. She stood in the doorway staring at the bed like she'd forgotten what furniture was for. Serena guided her inside, helped her lie down. Her daughter was asleep before her head hit the pillow. Exhaustion finally claiming what fear couldn't. Serena watched her breathe, counted each rise and fall of her chest. Proof of life. Proof that all the violence and running and moral compromise had been worth something. Damien appeared beside her, silent as smoke. You didn't have to come back for me, Serena said quietly. Yes, I did. You could have run, disappeared. They would have focused on me. You'd be free. I don't want that kind of free. His voice was soft, certain. Not anymore. Serena turned to look at him. Really, look. Blood still crusted at his hairline, bruises blooming across his jaw. The face of a man who'd just fought his way through a federal facility to rescue someone who wasn't family, wasn't a lover, wasn't anything except a woman who'd warned him about a poisoned bottle and changed the trajectory of both their lives. "Why?" she asked. "Because you didn't sign Garrison's paper. Because you could have saved yourself and you chose loyalty instead." He paused. "Because I've spent my entire life surrounded by people who would sell me for the right price. And you wouldn't. That's not heroic. That's just basic decency. In this world, that's the same thing." They stood in the doorway watching Lily sleep, two broken people who'd somehow kept each other alive through hell. "What happens now?" Serena asked. "We wait. See if Cartwright survives his gunshot wound. See how hard they look for us." Damien's jaw tightened. "If he lives, this never ends. He'll make it personal. Dedicate his career to hunting us. And if he doesn't, then we're still fugitives, still hunted, just by people with less investment in revenge." Serena's hand found his. Their fingers intertwined automatically, a connection forged through shared trauma and the terrible intimacy of survival. "I killed someone," she said. "That federal agent. I shot him, and I didn't hesitate." "You protected your daughter. Does that make it better?" "It makes it necessary. There's a difference." Serena wanted to believe that, wanted to think she could compartmentalize the killing into something justified, righteous even. But late at night when sleep finally came, she knew she'd see his face, would always see it. "I don't know who I am anymore," she whispered. "You're a mother who would burn the world to keep her child safe." Damien squeezed her hand. "That's all you need to be." They slept in shifts that first day. Damien watched the perimeter while Serena rested. Then she took over while he collapsed into unconsciousness so deep it looked like death. Lily woke once, asked for water, then went back to sleep for another 12 hours. When they finally gathered at the small kitchen table 48 hours after landing in Mexico, they were all different people than they'd been in Chicago. Harder, quieter, changed in ways that couldn't be undone. Damien had a laptop open, news feeds scrolling. His expression darkened as he read. Cartwright survived. Surgery removed the bullet. He's stable. He turned the screen so Serena could see. He's already giving interviews, calling us domestic terrorists, saying we kidnapped Lily to use as a shield. That's a lie. Doesn't matter. Truth is whatever the people with power say it is. He scrolled further. They've put a bounty on us. $5 million. Not official, of course. But every mercenary and bounty hunter in the hemisphere will be looking. Lily was coloring at the table. She looked up. Crayon paused. "Are we safe here?" "For now, baby," Serena said. "But not forever?" "No, not forever." Lily nodded, went back to coloring. She was drawing a house with a family standing outside. Mother, daughter, and a third figure that might have been Damien, or might have been the father she'd never known. The lines were too crude to tell. Damien's phone buzzed, a number he recognized. He answered, listened, his face going hard. "Understood, thank you." He hung up, looked at Serena. "That was my contact at the agency. Cartwright's planning something, moving assets into position along the border. He thinks he knows where we are." "How?" "Probably tracked Grizz's helicopter, or bribed someone. Doesn't matter how. What matters is we have maybe 48 hours before they hit this location. So we run again. Or we end it." The words hung in the air. Serena knew what he meant, knew what he was proposing. One final play, one last roll of the dice. "You want to kill him. I want to stop running. There's only one way to do that." Damien pulled up a map on his laptop. "Cartwright's in a private hospital in Houston, recovering. Security is tight, but not impossible. If we move fast, no." Serena's voice was flat, final. "Serena." I said no. "I'm not taking Lily within 1,000 miles of more violence. I'm not making her watch us become the monsters they say we are." She stood. "We run. We keep running until they stop looking or we find somewhere they can't reach. That place doesn't exist. Then we create it." Damien stared at her. She could see him calculating, weighing options. The strategist in him fighting against something else, something that might have been hope. "You really think we can outrun the CIA?" he asked quietly. "I think we can try."
That's more than we had a week ago. He studied her face for a long moment, then nodded once. Okay, we run. They spent the next day preparing. Damien had contacts throughout Central and South America. People who owed him favors, people who understood that loyalty bought with blood lasted longer than loyalty bought with money. He made calls, arranged transport, burned identities and created new ones. Canadian passports this time. A family heading south for adventure. Normal, unremarkable, invisible. Serena packed what little they had, clothes, Lily's stuffed animals, the photo of her father she'd grabbed from her apartment a lifetime ago. She stared at his face, smiling at some wine event, looking proud and alive, and tried to reconcile that man with the spy Cartwright claimed he'd been.
Was any of it real? She whispered to the photo. Did you love me? Or was that just cover too? The photo didn't answer. It never would. She was packing it away when Lily appeared in the doorway. Mommy, can I ask you something? Always, baby. Are we ever going home? The question broke something in Serena's chest. She knelt down, pulled her daughter close. I don't know. Our old home isn't safe anymore. But we'll find a new one, somewhere better. Will Mr. Moretti come too?
Serena glanced toward the living room where Damien was on the phone, speaking rapid Spanish to someone about boat access and border crossings. Do you want him to? She asked. Lily thought about it with the seriousness only children could muster. He keeps us safe, and he's not mean like the other bad people. He's just different.
Yeah, he is. I like him. Lily hugged Rexy tighter. He makes me feel like maybe things will be okay.
Serena kissed her daughter's forehead.
Then yes, he's coming with us. They left the compound at midnight. A truck waited at the rendezvous point. Old, unremarkable, Mexican plates. The driver was a woman in her 50s who looked like she'd seen every kind of trouble and survived it all. Maria, she introduced herself. Friend of Damien's. I take you south. Very safe. Very quiet.
They drove through the night. Mexico scrolled past the windows. Small towns, desert, mountains that rose like shadows against the stars. Lily slept in the back seat. Serena dozed fitfully. Damien stayed alert, eyes scanning every vehicle they passed. They were 200 miles from the compound when the roadblock appeared. Military checkpoint, Mexican federales, 6 men with assault rifles. Maria slowed, started to stop. Don't, Damien said quietly. We have to. They'll shoot if we run. They'll shoot anyway. This isn't random. Serena saw it the moment he said it, the way the soldiers were positioned. The American SUVs parked behind the checkpoint, the tactical gear that didn't match Mexican military issue. Cartwright, she breathed. He found us faster than I expected. Damien's hand moved to his weapon. Maria, when I say go, you floor it. Understand? They will kill us. They'll kill us if we stop. Go means we have a chance. The soldiers were waving them forward, shouting orders in Spanish, weapons raised, 50 yards, 40, 30. Now, Damien said. Maria floored it. The truck lurched forward. Gunfire erupted. The windshield spiderwebbed. Maria screamed. The truck swerved, crashed through the barricade. Soldiers dove out of the way. Then they were through, accelerating, bullets chasing them into the darkness. One caught Maria in the shoulder. She gasped, lost control. The truck careened off the road, hit a ditch, rolled twice. Serena's world became tumbling chaos. Metal screaming, glass shattering. Lily's scream cut short by impact. Then stillness. The truck was on its side. Serena hung from her seatbelt, blood dripping from a cut above her eye. Lily was unconscious in the back. Damien was moving, kicking out the windshield, pulling Serena free. Can you walk? Lily, I've got her. Can you walk? Serena nodded, climbed out of the wreckage on shaking legs. Damien pulled Lily free. She was breathing, alive. A gash on her forehead, but nothing worse. Maria wasn't so lucky. Still in the driver's seat, not moving. Serena checked her pulse. Nothing. She's gone, Serena said. Then we leave her. Damien was already moving. They'll be coming. We have maybe 2 minutes. They ran. Desert scrub tore at their clothes. The night was dark, moonless. Behind them, headlights appeared, vehicles converging on the crash site. Damien led them into a ravine, dropped into cover. They pressed against the stone wall, breathing hard, listening to the sounds of pursuit. Men shouted, dogs barked, searchlights swept the landscape. Lily whimpered. Serena clamped her hand over her daughter's mouth, felt her heart hammering against her ribs. They were 20 feet from discovery. 10. 5. A searchlight passed over their position. Serena held her breath, prayed to nothing in particular. The light moved on. Footsteps retreated. Engines started. The pursuit moved further down the road, following false trails. They waited in silence for an hour. Then Damien whispered, "We move. Now. Stay low. Stay quiet." They climbed out of the ravine, headed south on foot through the desert. No water, no supplies, just the clothes on their backs and the weapons Damien had grabbed from the wreckage. Dawn found them miles from the crash site, exhausted, bleeding. Lily's feet were torn up from walking in sneakers not meant for this terrain. Damien found a cave, not much shelter but better than nothing. They collapsed inside. Serena checked Lily's head wound. It had stopped bleeding but would need stitches. "We can't keep doing this," she said. "I know." "Cartwright will never stop. We could run to the end of the earth and he'd find us." "I know." "So what do we do?" Damien was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, older, tired in a way that had nothing to do with physical exhaustion. "We give him what he wants." "Which is me." He met her gaze. "Cartwright doesn't care about you. Not really. You're just leverage, a way to hurt me. But if I'm gone, if I turn myself in, he has no reason to hunt you anymore." "No." "Serena, I said no. You don't get to sacrifice yourself. Not after everything. It's the only way to keep you safe. We keep each other safe. That's how this works." She grabbed his jacket, pulled him close. "You come back for me. I don't abandon you. We're in this together or not at all." Something shifted in Damien's expression, the walls he'd built around himself cracking just enough to let her see through. "I've never had that before," he said quietly. "Someone who stayed." "Well, now you do, so stop trying to be a hero and help me figure out how we all survive this." They sat in the cave as the sun rose higher. Lily slept between them. Serena's mind raced through options. Every scenario ended badly. Capture, death, endless running. Unless... "The microfilm," she said suddenly. "Do you still have copies?" "Hidden. Why?" "What if we use it differently? Not as a threat, as a trade." She turned to face him. "We offer Cartwright everything. All the evidence, all the secrets, in exchange for our freedom. He'll never accept that. He wants me dead more than he wants the evidence contained. But he wants the evidence contained first. His career, his entire operation, it all depends on those secrets staying secret." Serena's voice gained strength as the plan formed. "We make him choose, us or his future. Which do you think he values more?" Damien considered it. "Even if he agrees, how do we make sure he honors the deal?" "We don't give him the evidence directly. We give it to someone else, someone with the power to destroy him if he breaks his word." "Who?" Serena pulled out her phone. The burner Damien had given her, dialed a number she'd never forgotten. Agent Garrison answered on the second ring. "Mrs. Vale, I'm surprised you're still alive. I need to make a deal." "You're not in a position to negotiate." "Yes, I am. I have evidence. Everything my father collected, everything the CIA has been trying to bury. I'm offering it to you." Silence on the other end. Then, "What do you want in return?" "Immunity. For me, for Lily, for Damien Moretti. Full pardons, new identities, and protection from Jonathan Cartwright." "That's a tall order." "It's a fair trade. You get to be the hero who brought down the biggest corruption scandal in CIA history. We get to disappear." Serena's voice hardened. "And Cartwright gets to explain to his superiors why he's been covering up treason for a decade." More silence. Serena could hear Garrison breathing, thinking, calculating. "Where are you?" Garrison asked finally. "Somewhere in Mexico. We'll send coordinates once we have your agreement in writing. I'll need to verify the evidence exists. I'll send you a sample. Enough to prove it's real. The rest you get when we have signed immunity agreements from the Attorney General. This could take days to arrange. We can wait. But Cartwright can't. Every hour that passes is another hour that evidence might go public. Serena let that sink in. Call me when you have the documents. We'll arrange the exchange. She hung up before Garrison could respond. Damien stared at her. That was either brilliant or suicide. Probably both. Serena's hands were shaking. Did I just make the worst mistake of my life? We'll find out. They waited in the cave for 3 days. Damien made trips to a nearby town for water and supplies. Basic medical supplies to treat Lily's head wound. Food that came from street vendors who didn't ask questions. On the 3rd day, Serena's phone rang. We have an agreement, Garrison said. Full immunity. All charges dropped. New identities and financial support for relocation, signed by the Attorney General himself. What about Cartwright? He's been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. The evidence you provided was enough to open formal inquiries into his operations. That's not good enough. He'll come after us the moment he's cleared. He won't be cleared. The AG wants scalps. Cartwright's career is over. Garrison paused. But he doesn't know that yet, which means you're still in danger until we have him in custody. How long? 48 hours, maybe less. We're moving assets into position now. And the exchange? Tomorrow. Noon. There's a border crossing at Tecate. Small, quiet. We'll have agents waiting. You bring the evidence. We bring the signed immunity agreements. Everyone walks away clean. It sounded too easy. Too convenient. Every instinct Serena had screamed trap. But what choice did they have? Tomorrow, noon. We'll be there. She hung up, told Damien the plan, watched his expression cycle through doubt, calculation, and finally grim acceptance. If this is a trap, he started, then we fight our way out, like always. With Lily? I'll keep her safe, no matter what. Damien nodded, checked his weapons, cleaned and loaded them with the methodical precision of a man preparing for war. They reached Tecate the next morning. The town was exactly as Garrison described. Small, quiet. The kind of border crossing where bribes worked better than paperwork. The FBI had set up in a warehouse near the port of entry. Serena could see agents in tactical gear, vehicles, the whole apparatus of law enforcement pretending to care about justice. Garrison waited inside the warehouse. She had the documents, thick folders stamped with official seals. Attorney General's signature visible on each page. The evidence? She asked. Damien held up a USB drive. Everything. Microfilm converted to digital. Names, dates, transactions. Enough to prosecute half of Washington. May I? He handed it over. Garrison plugged it into a laptop, scrolled through files. Her expression shifted from skepticism to shock to something that might have been professional satisfaction. This is substantial, more than we hoped for. And our deal? Garrison slid the immunity agreements across the table. Sign these. You're free to go. Serena read every word, looking for loopholes, traps, fine print that would give them freedom only to snatch it away later. It looked legitimate. All of it. She signed, then Damien, their names in ink making them either free or condemned, depending on how much they trusted the government that had been hunting them. It's done, Garrison said. She pulled out 3 new passports. Canadian. Perfect forgeries or perfect truth. Impossible to tell which. John and Sarah Mitchell. And your daughter Emma, congratulations. You no longer exist. What about Cartwright? Damien asked. He'll be in custody within the hour. Grand jury indictment coming Monday. He won't bother you again. You're sure? I'm sure. Garrison's expression softened slightly. You did the right thing, Mrs. Vale. Your father would be proud. Serena doubted that, but she took the passport anyway. They walked out of the warehouse into bright Mexican sunlight. Free, supposedly. Serena kept waiting for the trap to spring, for agents to grab them, for Cartwright to appear with a gun and a smile. Nothing happened. They crossed into the United States using their new identities. The border agent barely glanced at their passports, waved them through like they were tourists returning from a weekend trip. On the American side, a car waited. Keys in the ignition. Cash in the glove box. Garrison's final gift. Damien drove north, away from the border, away from everything that had tried to kill them. Lily sat in the back seat, quiet and thoughtful. Are we really free? She asked. I think so, baby. Can we go to school? Can I make friends?
Yes, all of that. Normal life. I promise. You promise a lot of things, Mommy. I know, but this time I mean it. They drove for hours, past Los Angeles, past San Francisco, north into Oregon, where the forest grew thick and the rain fell constantly and the world felt new.
Damien found them a house, small, isolated, surrounded by trees and silence. He paid cash, used the Mitchell name, became someone who'd never held a gun or killed to protect the people he loved. Serena enrolled Lily in the local school, watched her daughter make friends, watched her smile return, watched her stop flinching at loud noises. The nightmares still came, for all of them, but they came less frequently. 6 months passed, then a year. No federal agents appeared, no assassins, no Jonathan Cartwright risen from bureaucratic ashes to exact revenge. Just quiet. Rain. The slow healing that came from safety, maintained long enough to believe in. Serena stood on their porch one evening watching the sunset through the trees. Damien appeared beside her. He'd been splitting wood, sweat on his forehead, dirt on his hands. Normal domestic labor instead of violence.
You ever think about going back? She asked. To what? Chicago, the life before. No, that person is dead, has been for a while. He leaned against the railing. Do you? Sometimes. I miss things being simple, before poisoned wine bottles and federal manhunts. She smiled sadly. But simple got boring, and boring got us nowhere. You think this is better? I think we're alive. Lily's alive. We're together. She looked at him. Yeah, this is better. Damien's hand found hers, a connection maintained through shared trauma and the slow building of something that might have been love or might just have been survival wearing a different mask. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For not giving up on me. For choosing loyalty when abandonment was smarter. You did the same for me. Yeah, I did. They stood in comfortable silence as the sun disappeared and darkness settled over the forest. Inside, Lily was doing homework, complaining about math problems, being a normal kid with normal problems. It was everything Serena had fought for, everything she'd killed for. And it was enough. A car appeared on the long driveway, black sedan, government plates. Serena's hand instinctively moved toward the weapon hidden under the porch steps. Damien stepped in front of her. I've got this. The car stopped. Agent Garrison stepped out. Older than Serena remembered. Tired, but alive. Mrs. Mitchell, she called out, using the new name, respecting the charade. Mr. Mitchell, I hope I'm not intruding. That depends on why you're here, Damien said. Garrison walked closer, stopped at the base of the porch steps. I wanted to tell you in person. Jonathan Cartwright was sentenced today. 30 years. Federal prison. No parole. Serena felt something loosen in her chest. A tension she'd been carrying so long she'd forgotten it was there. It's really over? She asked. His part is. There are others. Always others. But Cartwright specifically? Yes. He'll die in a cell. Garrison pulled out an envelope, set it on the porch railing. This is a copy of the sentencing order, so you can sleep at night. Why bring it in person? Because you deserve to know that sometimes the good guys actually win, even if we're not very good, even if justice takes longer than it should. Garrison turned back toward her car. Enjoy your life, Mrs. Mitchell. You earned it. She drove away. Serena opened the envelope, read the sentencing order. 30 years. No parole. The man who'd killed her father, who'd hunted them across 2 countries, who'd stolen Lily from her arms. Gone. Locked away until he was too old to matter. Damien read over her shoulder. How do you feel? I don't know. Serena set the papers down. I thought I'd feel satisfied, vindicated. But mostly, I just feel tired. That's normal. Revenge doesn't heal wounds. It just closes them so they can't bleed anymore. Is that enough? It has to be. It's all we get. Lily appeared in the doorway. Mommy, who was that lady? Someone from our old life saying goodbye. Are we going to have to run again? No, baby, we're done running. Lily studied her mother's face, looking for lies, finding only truth. Then she smiled, that gap-toothed smile that had survived everything, and went back to her homework. Serena watched her go,
This child who'd seen too much, who'd been forced to grow up too fast, who'd learned that the world was cruel, but survival was possible if you fought hard enough. "She's going to be okay," Damien said. "How do you know?" "Because she has you, and you're the strongest person I've ever met. I killed people to protect her. There's a difference." "Is there?" "Yes. And someday she'll understand that, when she has children of her own and would burn the world to keep them safe." He squeezed her hand. "We did terrible things, Serena, but we did them for the right reasons. That has to count for something." Serena wanted to believe that, wanted to think that motivation mattered more than action, that the bodies left behind were justified by the life saved. Maybe they were. Maybe they weren't. But Lily was inside doing math homework, complaining about fractions, being a kid. And that was worth every sin Serena had committed to make it possible. 3 years passed. Lily turned 9, then 10. She joined soccer, made friends, had sleepovers and birthday parties, and all the normal childhood experiences Serena had fought to preserve. The nightmares faded. Not gone. Never gone. But manageable. Serena opened a small wine shop in town, used her father's knowledge, built something honest from the skills he'd taught her before everything went wrong. Sometimes tourists would ask about rare vintages, and she'd remember the 1921 Sauterne that had hidden her father's secrets, would remember microfilm and murder and the price of truth. But mostly she just sold wine to locals who didn't care about provenance, who just wanted something that tasted good and cost reasonable. Damien did contracting work, built decks and fixed roofs, used his hands for creation instead of destruction. He was good at it, meticulous, precise. They never married, never made it official, but they built a life together in the spaces between trauma and healing. Some nights Serena would wake from dreams of Cartwright's smile, or Victor's blood, or the man she'd shot through the car window. She'd lie there in the darkness, counting heartbeats until Damien's hand found hers. "You're okay," he'd whisper. "I know. We're safe." "I know. She's safe." And that was what mattered. Lily sleeping down the hall, alive, whole. Growing into someone strong and smart and capable of joy despite everything. On Lily's 10th birthday, Serena took her to visit her grandfather's grave. It wasn't really his grave. The body buried there belonged to someone else, some John Doe the coroner's office couldn't identify. But it had Thomas Vale's name on the headstone, a marker in a cemetery 3 hours south. Serena had commissioned it years ago with money from Garrison's relocation fund. Lily stood before the stone reading the inscription. "Beloved father, gone but not forgotten." "Was he good?" she asked. "Grandpa?" Serena thought about all the ways to answer that, all the complicated truths about spies and criminals and men who tried to play both sides and died badly. "He made mistakes," she said finally, "but he loved me, and he would have loved you." "Did the bad people kill him?" "Yes." "And then we killed them?" "Some of them. The rest went to prison." Lily nodded. Processing. Understanding in the way children understood before the world taught them to see everything in absolutes. "I'm glad they can't hurt us anymore," she said. "Me too, baby." They stood at the grave for a while. Then Lily placed the flowers they'd brought, white roses, her grandfather's favorite, and they drove home through the Oregon rain. That night, after Lily was asleep, Serena sat with Damien on the porch. The rain had stopped. Stars were visible between the clouds, rare and beautiful. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Saving you at Vespero?" "All of it. The running, the violence, becoming this." Damien was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was thoughtful, honest in a way he rarely allowed. "I regret the people who died, Grace especially. She deserved better than burning to buy us time." He paused. "But do I regret you? Us? No. Before you, I was just existing, going through motions, waiting to die in some stupid war over territory I didn't care about. And now? Now I have a reason to live. 2 reasons. He looked at her. "You and Lily. You gave me something worth protecting, worth fighting for. That's not something I regret." Serena leaned against him, felt his warmth, his solidity. This man who'd been a monster and became something else, something better. Or maybe just different. Maybe monsters could change. Maybe anyone could if they found the right reason. I love you, she said. First time she'd said it out loud, first time she'd admitted it to herself. I know. Damien's arm came around her shoulders. I love you too. Have for a while. Since when? Since you wouldn't sign Garrison's paper. Since you chose me over safety. Since you became the most dangerous person I'd ever met without losing who you are. He kissed the top of her head. You're terrifying, Serena Vale. Or Sarah Mitchell. Whoever you are now. I'm just me. Whoever that is, that's who I love. They sat in silence. Comfortable. Complete. Two broken people who'd found each other in the worst possible circumstances and built something that survived anyway. Inside, Lily dreamed. Outside, the stars wheeled overhead. Time passed the way it always did. Seconds into minutes. Minutes into years. The scars faded but didn't disappear. Some nights the past returned in dreams vivid enough to wake them gasping. But those nights came less and less. 5 years after Cartwright's sentencing, Serena received a letter. Prison stationery. Federal facility in Pennsylvania. She almost threw it away unread. Almost let the past stay buried where it belonged. But curiosity won. She opened it. The handwriting was shaky. Age or illness rendering it almost illegible. But the signature was clear, Jonathan Cartwright. The letter was short. Just a few paragraphs. Mrs. Vale, I'm dying. Cancer. The doctors give me 6 months, maybe less. I'm not writing to apologize. What I did was necessary. Your father was a traitor. You became collateral damage. That's how these things work. But I wanted you to know that I understand now. What you fought for. What you were willing to become to protect your daughter. I have grandchildren I'll never meet. Family who won't speak my name. I traded everything for duty, and it left me here. Alone. Dying in a cell. You won. Not because you were right, but because you were willing to pay the price I wasn't. Congratulations. J.C. Serena read it twice, then burned it in the fireplace. Watched the paper curl and blacken and turn to ash. Damien found her there. What was that? Closure. She turned away from the flames. Or as close as we get. From Cartwright? Yeah, he's dying. Wanted me to know he lost. How do you feel? Nothing. He's already dead to me. She took Damien's hand. I don't need his confession or his regrets. I have everything I need right here. What about justice? Justice is watching my daughter grow up safe, watching her smile, knowing she'll never have to do the things I did. Serena's voice was steady, certain. Everything else is just details. Damien pulled her close. They stood by the fire as the last of Cartwright's letter dissolved into nothing. Outside, spring was coming. The Oregon rain would give way to sunshine. Lily's soccer season would start. Life would continue its relentless forward motion whether they were ready or not. But they were ready. Had been for years. Two people who'd walked through hell holding hands and emerged changed but alive. The scars would always be there. The memories. The knowledge of what they were capable of when pushed. But so would the love. The family they'd built. The quiet mornings and loud dinners and all the ordinary moments that made up an extraordinary survival. Serena watched the fire burn down to embers, thought about her father, about Victor, about all the people who died so she could stand here in this moment. Thank you, she whispered to ghosts who couldn't hear. Then she turned away from the past and walked toward the future. Damien was there. Lily was there. Home was there. And for the first time in longer than she could remember, that was enough. Not perfect, not clean, not the fairy tale ending where heroes conquered evil and everyone lived happily ever after, but real, hard-won, maintained through blood and sacrifice and the stubborn refusal to surrender what mattered most. The next morning, Lily came down for breakfast chattering about a school project. Damien made pancakes, Serena poured coffee, normal domestic chaos, no federal agents appeared, no assassins, no ghosts from the past demanding payment, just a family. Broken and rebuilt. Scarred and healing. Together. And in the end, after everything they'd survived and everything they'd lost, that was the only victory that mattered. The war was over. The survivors had won. And life, messy, complicated, beautiful life, went on.